Chapter 344. The monsters all had blood-red eyes as they spread out in the wilderness. There was no formation or order to speak of. However, their bodies were huge, and the weapons in their hands were also incomparably huge. It was a little scary. After seeing the human army leave the city, the monsters couldn't help but let out hissing sounds, as if they were angry. They all raised their hands and threw the heads of the iron infantry camp soldiers out. It seemed like they didn't need to use the heads to claim military merits. Raise your shields. With a loud shout from Du Hai, the soldiers in the front row all raised their shields high above their heads. Immediately, the human heads hit the shields and bounced off. Although they did not cause any damage, the Imperial soldiers all looked at each other in dismay. These monsters could throw human heads hundreds of meters away in an instant. How much strength did they have? A bunch of mobs. Du Hai frowned and said, "Spear and shield formation. Archers, get ready. Cavalry, get ready to attack." After all, he was once the commander of the Tianchong army. Although the Tianchong army had been completely annihilated, Du Hai's commanding ability was still very good. As the spear and shield formation slowly approached, the 5,000 monsters seemed to feel the pressure. One by one, they roared angrily, raised their weapons and rushed down the small hill, charging over like a black mass. "Archers, release!" Du Hai ordered loudly. The archers at the back of the shield formation all raised their hands and fired. A dense barrage of arrows soared into the sky and fell into the crowd of monsters. However, the heads, necks, and chests of these monsters were all covered in hard armor. The arrows actually bounced off the monsters. Moreover, their running speed was frighteningly fast. They rushed to the front of the formation like a whirlwind and swung the heavy war hammers, iron awls, spears, and other clumsy weapons in their hands. Pung pung pung. The shields and the bodies of the soldiers flew into the air. The monstrous strength of these monsters was far beyond what humans could contend against. Roar. A monster wielding an iron spear quickly pierced its spear into the chest of a shield bearer. It then leaped up with the shield bearer's corpse and bit another soldier. It opened its mouth and tore off a large piece of flesh from the other soldier's neck. The surrounding soldiers all used their spears and sharp swords to stab at the monster. Unfortunately, their weapons all bounced off the monster's hard armor, unable to cut through. Bastard! In a fit of rage, Du Hai spurred his horse and charged forward with his sword in hand. His long sword was filled with dou qi. With a sudden slash, the long sword cut into the back of a cockroach, but it was unable to cut through. The monster turned around in pain, howling as it swung its battle axe at Du Hai. In a fit of rage, Du Hai roared, "Chaos of the 1,000 armies!" Fresh blood spurted out. This monster was directly split into two from the back by Du Hai. The two halves of its body spasmed on the ground. It was not completely dead yet. Du Hai raised his head to look, only to see his magnificent army being massacred by over 5,000 monsters. Not only were these cockroaches impervious to swords and spears, they also had astonishing strength. They used clumsy blunt weapons to kill people. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment, Du Hai was actually at a loss. How many monsters could he kill? Killing one just now had consumed nearly 10% of his dou qi. If he were to kill more, he would probably die from exhaustion. What should we do? He looked up and saw the soldiers of the temple camp charging towards him. Change to the white diamond arrows, aim and shoot. Lin Muyu ordered loudly. The soldiers of the temple camp were all staff members of the temple. They were adept with bows and horses, and naturally were good archers. In an instant, countless white diamond arrows were shot out, and in the next moment, blood splattered everywhere. The 7 to 8 monsters at the front were pierced with arrows and died, but there were even more that continued to charge into the crowd with arrows. "Unsheath your weapons, kill!" Shen Han pulled out his sword and shouted. Lin Muyu flew at the front of the crowd, and was the first to arrive in the midst of the chaos. Her pear blossom spear gleamed coldly, and with a poochie sound, it pierced through the heart of a monster from the back. Her dou qi exploded, and directly shattered the heart. The pear blossom spear had been tempered with white diamond, and was extremely sharp. The golden gourd vines shot out, and coiled around the legs of a few monsters. Qin Yan, Shen Han and the rest flew past, and the heads of the monsters flew up, but there were too many of them, And not everyone had the cultivation of heaven realm like Lin Muyu, Qin Yan and Du Hai. When the 100 monsters charged into the temple camp, another massacre began. Lin Muyu watched as a temple staff member had his head bitten off by a monster, his brains splattering everywhere. He then saw a group of helpless temple camp soldiers being pierced by spears, and all he could do was to wave his pear blossom spear and kill the monsters one by one. The do qi in his body was greatly depleted, and he had to use all his strength to pierce through the carapace of the monsters. If not, even the white diamond-tempered spear tip would be a stretch. The human soldiers around him screamed, and the rate of casualties was too fast. Lin Muyu pulled out the dragon spirit sword, and after slicing off the head of a cockroach, he was stained with the blood of the cockroach, and quickly wiped it away and shouted, "Commander-in-Chief, let's retreat, if not we will all die outside the city." Du Hai had a look of helplessness. The Marquis has yet to strike the drums to retreat. What should we do? Lin Muyu hurriedly looked up at the city. There was a chaotic battle below, but there seemed to be no movement from the top of the city. In an instant, Lin Muyu's heart turned cold. Could it be that Min Yulin was planning to let Du Hai and himself die outside the city? Just at this time, a strange woo-woo sound came from the hill in the distance, and in the next moment, another large group of monsters came out, and there were over 10,000 of them. Oh no! Lin Muyu's heart was in a mess. In less than 20 minutes of battle, the temple camp had lost at least half of their men, and if this carried on, the entire army would be wiped out. Right at this time, a monster came charging at them. This monster was a little strange. It was riding on a sturdy battle wolf, and the wolf was blind in one eye. This monster held a hammer in its hand, and its face was filled with murderous intent. With a raise of its hand, it smashed the head of a temple camp soldier into pieces, and with a roar, it charged at Lin Muyu, as though it could see that Lin Muyu was the one who had killed the most people in this group. Wang. With the wall of the gourd in front of him, the mystic tortoise shell and dragon scale wall were activated, and Lin Muyu had focused all of her strength on defense. Through the spirit pulse technique, she could sense that this monster was even stronger than a sage. Pung. The moment the hammer landed, the wall of the gourd shattered, and Lin Muyu was sent flying from the back of her horse. She felt the blood in her chest churning. She had already expended a lot of her battle chi, and now she was facing such a powerful monster. How could she win? Qin Yan shouted and charged forward with his spear, but he was also forced back in one strike. Lin Muyu turned around and stood up with her sword and shouted, "Yan, don't fight it head on, bring everyone and retreat back to the city. Don't care about the Marquis orders. We cannot all die here." Yes. Qin Yan and Shen Han immediately led the temple camp and charged back. Lin Muyu lowered her body and raised the intensity of her battle chi to its peak. She gritted her teeth, and her sword was filled with the glow of the golden gourd. And at the same time, the power of the god-binding chains was hidden within. She leaped up and slashed out. 5 elements, 8 wastelands extermination. Roar. This monster leader could not speak, and only roared, and the thorny war hammer flew towards the dragon spirit sword. Was it going to fight head-on? Pung. The air surged, and golden light shot into the sky. The power of Lin Muyu's sword was not weak, but the opponent seemed to be stronger. After the dragon spirit sword cut into the hammer by nearly 20 centimeters, a tyrannical force rushed over, causing Lin Muyu's arms to go numb, and the sword flew out of her hands. This monster leader urged his battle wolf forward, his eyes filled with killing intent, and reached out to grab Lin Muyu's waist. He wanted to capture her alive. Of course, Lin Muyu wasn't going to allow herself to be captured without a fight. She sprang into the air and abruptly kicked her opponent's wrist, using the momentum to tumble to the ground. She then raised her hand, which was conjured up by flames, and stabbed her dragon spirit sword toward the monster leader's arm. A loud thump rang out as the dragon spirit sword pierced through the energy barrier of his black battle armor. But it was only able to cut into his flesh for 3 minutes before it was unable to penetrate any further, and it was sent flying by the recoil. Roar! The monster leader looked at the injury on his arm, and his eyes were bloodshot, and he became more and more violent. He seemed to know how to use the power of his battle chi, even though it was black and evil battle chi. He gripped the war hammer with both hands, and glared at Lin Muyu with bloodshot eyes. as if he had already made up his mind to kill her. Lin Muyu gripped the dragon spirit sword, and her battle chi revolved around her body. She panted heavily as she looked at the imperial soldiers in the distance, and yelled, "Du Hai, why are you still here? Are you planning to get all of us killed?" Du Hai rushed over with his saber in hand and yelled, "You go first, I'll cover you." Whoosh! The monster leader struck with a mighty blow, and heaven and earth seemed to have lost their color. The warhammer seemed to have torn apart the plane of space, and it actually carried traces of lightning. Lin Muyu secretly shouted that things were not going well. She held the sword in her right hand, and wisps of 7 luminaries Xian energy gathered on the blade. At the same time, she opened her left hand, and immediately condensed a 7-colored ribbon, which was the light of the second style of the astral arts, astral chain. In the next moment, she waved her left hand, and the astral chain transformed into the power of thousands of astral domains, and pounced towards the opponent. At the same time, she held the sword with both hands, and directly blasted out the power of the 6 luminaries' heavenly calamity. Boom! The power of both sides was too strong, and it actually formed the impact of a domain storm, causing the surrounding monsters and human soldiers to retreat. Pfft! A mouthful of blood flowed out from the corner of Lin Muyu's mouth. He flew out like a kite with a broken string, and fell into the mud in a sorry state. The originally pure white sacred temple armor had become a patch of mud in the blink of an eye. On the other hand, the monster leader wasn't any better. Together with the war wolf, he retreated dozens of meters, and the hand that was holding the war hammer was bleeding, splashing onto the ground with a pitter-patter. At this moment, Du Hai fiercely slashed the monster leader's neck from behind, and shouted loudly, "Lin Muyu, why aren't you leaving yet? Scram, you're the foster son of the former emperor. Your life is much more valuable than mine." Lin Muyu stood up in a sorry state, and found a war horse in the chaotic battlefield. He flipped over and rode the horse towards the direction of the city. Looking back, Du Hai and close to 10,000 human soldiers were howling miserably in the battle formation, dying one after another. Chapter 345. When Lin Muyu arrived at the city gate, Qin Yan and Shen Han came out to receive her. After she entered the city, the gate closed again. It seemed that Min Yulin had decided to give up on the imperial army outside the city. Moreover, the number of the monster army was increasing, and they had surrounded Du Hai and the others outside the city. It was unlikely that they would be able to return. The webbing between her thumb and forefinger was torn and bleeding, and she felt waves of pain. Blood splattered on the bricks of the city. With the help of Qin Yan, Lin Muyu walked to the top of the city gate step by step. Around her, the imperial generals were all pale. "Are you all right, Lady Lin Muyu?" Min Zhan, the commander of the Sky Cavalry, stepped forward and asked with concern. "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, young general." Lin Muyu's expression was somewhat dejected. She walked to Min Yulin and said, "Marquis, we lost." Min Yulin's face was somewhat pale. He nodded slightly and said, "I know this defeat is not your fault, but mine. General Lin, you've worked hard." With that, Min Yulin frowned in pain. Were those monsters really that strong? Yes. After sitting down, Lin Muyu panted heavily. Those ordinary monsters were equivalent to the earth realm. They had thick skin and flesh, and ordinary swords couldn't pierce through them. And then, the strength of the monster leader was even stronger. It was at least above the 3rd level of the Saint Realm. In the words of the cultivation world, it was close to the level of a god. Close to the level of a god. Min Yulin was dumbfounded. Where did these monsters come from? I don't know either. Lin Muyu turned to look at the city gate. Her chest ached as if it had been pierced by thousands of arrows. General Du Hai is gone. The number 1 warrior of the empire is gone. Not necessarily. Min Zhan said. General Du Hai was in the Saint Realm. Maybe he could have fought his way out. That won't happen. Lin Muyu stood up, pressed her bloody palm on the battlement, and looked outside the city. The battle was coming to an end. The Monster Legion had wiped out 20,000 soldiers of the Yangwei Legion at a small cost, and the price they paid was no more than 2,000 people at most. Some of the monsters were devouring the corpses of the humans, while others were snatching the armor and weapons. One of the troops slowly approached the city, and the leader was the monster leader. He held a bloody head in his hand, and when he arrived at the city, he raised the head up high. It was Du Hai's head. Min Yulin couldn't help but close his eyes, his body trembling. These bastards. Qin Yan gritted his teeth. They actually really killed General Du Hai, these beasts. At that moment, a messenger rushed over and reported hurriedly, Marquis, such monsters have appeared in the south, east and west of Winterfrost City. We've been surrounded. Min Yulin's body trembled slightly as he asked, how many of them are there? A total of more than 50,000 people. Got it. You can go now. Yes. Min Yulin seemed to have aged many years, and his eyes became cloudy. He looked at the crowd and asked, Generals, tell me, what should we do at this moment? Su Wentian's face was ashen, and he said, we only have half of our troops left, and I'm afraid we can't fight anymore. We can only ask for help, and hope that Duke Lan and Duke Yun can send more troops. If there are 300,000 Imperial troops, we can definitely wipe out this 50,000 monster army. Lin Muyu glanced at him and said, the Empire doesn't have that many troops left, and even if there are, they are only new soldiers. If the new soldiers fight these monsters, it's the same as sending them to their deaths. What else can we do? Wait for death. Su Wentian said, gritting his teeth. Lin Muyu didn't want to argue with him. Wang Shi, Su Ying, and the other generals were also at their wits' end. These monsters seemed to have descended from the sky, and their strength was frightening. This was truly terrifying. At this moment, a captain said, Marquis, they've come, and they seem to be envoys. Oh. Min Yulin said, let them come. Yes, Marquis. On the city wall, a dense number of arrows were aimed at the bottom of the city. At the bottom of the city wall was a human, riding on a warhorse, with 2 monster guards following behind him. He wasn't afraid. He lifted his cloak and looked at the walls of Winterfrost City, then spurred his horse into the city. Under the escort of a group of human soldiers, he came to the top of the city wall with a disdainful smile. The group of Imperial generals couldn't help but frown when they saw the monster up close. The monster's body exuded a foul stench, and it was indeed like a cockroach. Looks like this is the commander of this human army. The newcomer's lips curled up as he spoke with a faint smile. Min Yulin nodded and said, I am Marquis Min Yulin of the Qin Empire, and I am also the highest commander of the Imperial Army in Winterfrost City. Who are you, and who are you? The newcomer smiled politely and cupped his fists. I am Shen Xiang, and I am here to speak to the Marquis on behalf of the divine race. The divine race? Min Yulin frowned and smiled. Do these ugly things deserve to be called the divine race? Shen Xiang looked at the 2 monsters behind him and smiled. To tell you the truth, Marquis, they are the lowest of the divine race. We call them armored demons. But they are also the bravest warriors of the divine race. I believe you have seen the armored demon general at the bottom of the city wall. His name is Lei Chong, and he is the marshal of the Thunder Chong Legion. As he spoke, Shen Xiang looked at Lin Muyu and cupped his fists respectfully. General, Marshal Lei Chong praised you for your outstanding martial arts skills, but he also asked me to tell you that he will take your head sooner or later. Lin Muyu frowned. You don't deserve to be called the divine race. That's right. Shen Xiang laughed and said, when we were still ruling this continent, you humans called us the demon race. Demons? Min Yulin shuddered and murmured, haven't they been sealed and killed? Is that possible? Shen Xiang smiled and said, for tens of thousands of years, our demon race has been biding our time, waiting for this day. Now that this day has finally come, you humans should return this fertile land to us. What is your goal this time? Min Yulin asked coolly. Shen Xiang said, Marquis, please open the gates and surrender. The divine race will allow you to be slaves and spare your lives. And if I don't agree? Then wait to become a pile of dirt. Shen Xiang said with a smile. How dare you? Min Zhan shouted, capture them. Shen Xiang laughed out loud. Suddenly, streams of black doqi gushed out from his body. He leaped down from the city wall, and pulled out his sword to block the arrows on the city wall. After that, he floated down to the ground and left in a cloud of dust. On the wall, the 2 armored demons were cut into pieces by Lin Muyu, Qin Yan and the others. Crimson blood splattered on the ground. What do we do now? Wang Shi was dejected, his eyes full of fear. Min Yulin looked at the crowd and asked, "Generals, what do you think we should do?" Suing cupped his hands and said, "Marquis, according to my experience, this place is thousands of miles away from Lanyan City. The mountains and rivers are barren, and the weather is unpredictable. I'm afraid the messenger birds we sent out will not make it to Lanyan City alive. It's almost impossible to wait for reinforcements. The only way out is to kill our way out. Infantry die, cavalry live. Infantry die, cavalry live." Min Yulin closed his eyes in pain. I didn't think that I, Min Yulin, would end up like this after all my achievements. Su Wentian said, "We've already sent out at least 100 messenger birds. I'm sure South Ridge Province and Heaven's Pivot Province will receive them. Marquis, all we need to do now is wait." Min Yulin didn't speak. After a few seconds he sighed and said, "Bring 2 bowls and some stones. All officers above Chiliarch rank vote to decide whether to break out or wait for reinforcements." Not long after, the 2 bowls were filled with stones. However, it was clear that there were more people in favor of waiting for reinforcements. Everyone present had witnessed the demon race's combat prowess. Breaking out would only make them die a little faster. All of Winterfrost City fell into a deathly silence. Just a day ago, everyone had been celebrating their victory over Iha Nation. At night, the cold wind howled through the city. Torches flickered as Min Yulin entered the provisions camp, escorted by a group of guards. Chun Han, who was patrolling outside, immediately came up and said, "Greetings, Marquis. Where's the chief attendant?" "He's recovering." "Take me to him." "Yes, Marquis." Before Min Yulin could enter the tent, Lin Muyu came out. Her arm was wrapped in white gauze, and her face was pale. She said respectfully, "I didn't know the Marquis was coming. Forgive me for not going out to meet you." "There's no need to be so polite, Chief Attendant," Min Yulin said. "I wonder how much longer the army's provisions will last." 8 days at most. That little? Yes, the subsequent provisions haven't been able to keep up. I've already sent people to exchange Jining coins for food, but the total population of Winterfrost City is less than 100,000. The land here is barren, and winter has just passed, so the spring crops are not yet ripe. There are people starving to death every day, so there's not much food for us. Min Yulin nodded and said, "Pass down my order. From today onwards, everyone's rations will be halved. We must hold on for a little longer, or I'm afraid we won't be able to wait for reinforcements to return." Yes. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Although everyone was somewhat dissatisfied with the halving of rations, fortunately, nothing major happened. Late at night, Lin Muyu was cultivating with her eyes closed. She had only eaten a thin pancake for dinner, and her stomach was rumbling with hunger. Suddenly, Qin Yan opened the curtain and walked in with a hurried expression. "Big brother, something bad has happened. The provisions camp is on fire." "Fire?" Lin Muyu trembled. "Quick, go take a look. Order everyone to put out the fire immediately." "Yes." When they arrived, the provisions camp was ablaze. Chun Han and the others carried buckets of water, but how could they extinguish this raging fire? Looking at the warehouses of rations turning to ashes, Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart. She asked, "Why on earth did this fire happen?" "It's the fire arrows in the sky." "In the sky?" Lin Muyu looked up and saw the stars falling down from the sky. Indeed, it was a group of people in the sky. Many of the Empire's soldiers on the ground were shooting arrows into the sky, but the arrows fell powerlessly after flying 100 meters high. They could not reach those mysterious shadows at all. Motherf *Ker. Lin Muyu flew forward and grabbed a javelin. Fighting aura swirled around her body, and she suddenly threw the javelin out. Whoosh! The javelin shot into the sky with a cold wind. In the next moment, a muffled grunt could be heard from afar. Immediately after, a black shadow landed on the main road of the underground city. Everyone walked over with torches in hand and surrounded it, only to discover that it was a human with wings. Perhaps it could not be considered a human because its face was extremely ugly, and it looked somewhat similar to an armored demon. "It's the fiend race." Qin Yan gritted his teeth and said, "Among the troops of the fiend race, there are troops that can fly. This group of bastards is clearly trying to starve us to death." Chapter 346. The gold-plated crane palace lantern flickered with a faint flame. Qin Yin was kneeling at the side of the Empress's long table, reading the dossiers and memorials handed to her by two maids. Further away, Feng Jixing, Su Yu, and Xiang Yu were standing together with respectful expressions. Other than them, there was no one else in the Revue Zheng Hall. "Is there still no news from the Yangwei army?" Qin Yin didn't look up, and her brush continued to gently outline the strong handwriting on the memorial. "No." Feng Jixing shook his head and said, "Since they sent the last letter in the eastern border of Cangnan province, there has been no news. Most likely because the climate and terrain in Lingdong province are very complicated, so the information is blocked. Even the messenger birds can't travel through the mountains and rivers to the imperial capital. But we can't be at our wits' end." Qin Yin frowned and said, "Aunt Luo, immediately send a letter to the officials of Yunzhong province and ask them to send more people into Lingdong province to investigate the Yangwei army. We can't just sit and wait." Su Yu bowed and said, "I know, Your Highness, please rest assured." "Okay." Qin Yin put down the brush, looked at the contents of the memorial, and nodded with satisfaction. She stood up and said, "I haven't been sleeping well these days and my heart is restless. I always feel that something will happen. General Xiang Yu, how is the deployment of the army in Cangnan province?" Xiang Yu cupped his fist and said, "I have personally sent 100,000 troops to Wugu City, and they can receive the imperial army from Lingdong province at any time. Your Highness, please rest assured that nothing will happen. If it's convenient." Qin Yin looked at Xiang Yu and said, "General Xiang, please go to Wugu City immediately and lead 100,000 troops to reinforce Lingdong province." "Ah." Xiang Yu was stunned and said, "Your Highness, Duke Lan and Duke Yin haven't learned about this yet. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for us to act rashly." Beside him, Feng Jixing said, "Xiang Yu, you are the descendant of Xiang Wentian, the god of war, and a general of the empire. If you don't listen to Her Highness's orders, whose orders do you want to listen to? Is Her Highness the Empress no longer in charge of the Qin Empire?" Xiang Yu frowned and said, "Your Highness, this subordinate has no intention of offending you, but please understand this subordinate's difficulties. The 100,000 troops deployed in Cangnan province are all from the Seven Seas province. All of the captaincy directly obey Duke Lan's orders. Without Duke Lan's handwritten orders, I'm afraid that even if this subordinate went to Five Valleys City, I still wouldn't be able to mobilize the troops." "I understand." Qin Yin picked up the imperial edict and said, "I've written the edict. Take it to Duke Lan and tell him that this is my order. I hope Duke Lan will listen to it." Xiang Yu hurriedly stepped forward and respectfully received the imperial edict. He lowered his head and said, "This subordinate will immediately go to the Duke's residence. Your Highness, please wait for a moment." "All right, hurry up and come back soon." "Yes." Xiang Yu turned and left, and Qin Yin watched him leave the Yuezheng Hall. At the same time, her beautiful eyes followed the night sky and looked toward the east. The stars were bright there, but she didn't know how the person she was thinking about was doing. Qin Yin wished she could grow a pair of wings and fly to Lingdong to see if Lin Muyu was doing well. However, the Empress's clothes were like a cage that firmly locked her here. Su Yu's eyes flickered. She saw Qin Yin's worry, so she smiled softly and said, "Xiao Yin, don't worry. Nothing will happen to the 100,000 troops of the Yangwei Legion attacking Lingdong. The main force of the Iha Nation's army is already in Lingdong, so you don't have to worry at all. Moreover, Min Yulin, the Marquis of Weha, has been on the battlefield for a long time and is good at leading troops. Yu is the great deacon of the Holy Temple and has extraordinary cultivation. It is even more impossible for anything to happen to him." "Yes, I know. Thank you, Aunt Su." Qin Yin walked down the steps and came to Su Yu's side. She held Su Yu's hand and asked, "How is grandfather's illness?" "It's just a cold. I have already asked the great deacon Chu Yao of the Panacea department to diagnose and prescribe. He should be fine after taking a few medicines. Don't worry about him." "Yes." Qinin raised her head and glanced at Feng Jixing. Feng Jixing immediately bowed his head and cupped his fists in a respectful manner. General Feng, how about you propose to reorganize the Imperial Guards and the white-robed Imperial Guards at tomorrow's court meeting? Qinin said with a smile. Feng Jixing's face was full of calmness. Rest assured, Your Highness. This kind of thing can only be handled by me, Feng Jixing. So you couldn't help but laugh and said, General Feng, rest assured. The matter of the Imperial Guards has been put on hold for too long. Father won't be in the palace tomorrow. Even if Duke Lan objects, this agenda should be passed. Feng Jixing nodded. Yes, let's hope so. Qinin blinked and said, originally, the Empire had 6 white-robed Imperial Guards. Now, only General Feng and General Du Hai are left. It's time to promote a new white-robed Imperial Guard. When Brother Yu returns victorious, I plan to promote him to white-robed Imperial Guard. What do you think? Feng Jixing laughed. Yu has an extraordinary cultivation base. With his ability and virtue, he deserves to be a white-robed Imperial Guard. So Yu also smiled. Xiaoyin, since ancient times, the Emperor has decided on the candidates for the white-robed Imperial Guards and the Imperial Guards. You don't need to ask for anyone's permission. This is your right. Yes, thank you, Aunt Luan. The night breeze blew through Zetian Hall. The swaying pearl curtains slowly trembled and made a soft rustling sound. It was as if a young girl was expressing her unspeakable longing and expectation. Lingdong Province, Winterfrost City. What is this thing? In the main hall of the city, a group of people surrounded the corpse of a demon with bird wings. All of them were dumbfounded. This was the first time they had seen another branch of the demon race, the winged people. This was also the only branch of the demon race that could fly in the sky. They were also one of the few humanoids on the continent who could fly. Is this the thing that burned our rations? Min Yulin asked with a frown. Yes. Lin Muyu bowed and said, this subordinate was wrong to let these demons burn our rations. Please punish me, Marquis. Sigh. Min Yulin sighed and said, the demons are cunning. It's not your fault. General Lin Muyu, how much rations do we have left? How long can we last? All that's left is the Elixir Division's food that has been made into biscuits. It can only last for 2 days, Lin Muyu added. And that's only if the food is halved. Min Yulin gritted his teeth and said, then let our brothers endure for another day. From now on, reduce the rations to 30% a day. This way we can last a few more days. If the Empire's reinforcements don't arrive soon, we can only kill the horses. Kill the horses. Min Zhan was the commander of the Sky Cavalry. He said with a pained expression, Father, without the war horses, we'll lose our advantage in speed and long-distance travel. I'm afraid none of us will be able to escape. Min Yulin said indifferently. Zhaner, if we don't kill the horses, we'll all starve to death here, let alone escape. Yes, Father. Wang Shi, Su Wentian, Su Ying, and the other generals were also at their wits' end. It was at this time that a messenger came from afar and said with a panicked expression, Marquis, it's bad, the demons are attacking the city again. Again. Min Yulin raised his sword-like eyebrows and said, Generals, listen up. Defend Winterfrost City even if you die. Yes. Lin Muyu turned around and walked out of the mayor's residence with her hand on her sword. Outside, Qin Yan, Shen Han, and more than 200 soldiers of the Temple Battalion were waiting. After days of hard fighting, there were only so many people left. Big brother, the demons are attacking the city. I know. Follow me to the city wall. We must defend it. Yes. A group of people spurred on their horses and headed straight for the northern city wall of Winterfrost City. This was also the place that had been attacked the most. When Lin Muyu stepped on the city wall with the dragon spirit sword in her hand, she saw a dense demon army in the distance. All of them were armored demons. However, in the Yangwei Legion, they were called cockroaches. They were very difficult to deal with. Their bodies were impenetrable and had terrifying attack power. The nearest armored demon carried a blunt long saber and hissed as it ran. Its scarlet eyes looked at the humans on the city wall excitedly. It roared and hit the base of the city wall. After taking a few steps back, it waved its long saber and slashed the bricks of the city wall. Suddenly, even Lin Muyu and the others felt the ground shaking. These armor demons were really a species that didn't care about their lives. Bring me my bow, Lin Muyu ordered. A soldier of the Holy Temple camp handed her the carved bow. Lin Muyu raised her hand and pulled out an ordinary steel arrow. She put all her strength into her arms and pulled the hard bow into a full moon. Streaks of visible star power poured into the arrow. Because of the short distance, Lin Muyu's archery was much more accurate. With a swoosh sound, the arrow directly penetrated the head of the armor demon. Whoa! The armor demon held its head and took a few steps back. It fell on the ground and twisted crazily. However, since its brain was damaged, it couldn't survive. It was only a matter of time before it died. Great strength, great deacon. Shen Han couldn't help but praise. However, he didn't praise the accuracy of Lin Muyu's archery, because Lin Muyu's accuracy was less than 30% from 100 m, but within 50 m, her accuracy was almost 100%. Now that the armor demons were going to attack the city, Lin Muyu's strength and accuracy would naturally play a big role. Arrows fell from the top of the city like raindrops into the group of armor demons on the ground, causing endless clanking sounds. White diamond arrowheads were limited, and could only be used by those who were good at archery. As for ordinary arrows, they could only be shot into the eyes and mouth of the armor demons, which was also the biggest weakness of the armor demons. However, the armor demons that were moving at a high speed could not be hit so easily. Instead, the Imperial Army's arrows were greatly consumed. The number of arrows in the city was decreasing day by day. Seeing the dense armor demons swarming towards the city, each of them charged forward without a care for their lives. Some of them even spread their wings and leaped nearly 20 m into the air, looking at the humans on the city with a ferocious expression. These bastards! Qin Yan shouted coldly and pulled back the arrow. An armor demon in the distance immediately fell to the ground. Shen Han said with a cold face, "They're hungry." "What did you say?" Lin Muyu asked. Shen Han said, "These armor demons eat human corpses. Almost all of our dead soldiers were eaten. The armor demons seem to have a huge appetite. At this moment, they're hungry again." A burst of anger rose in her chest. Lin Muyu said fiercely, "Continue to defend, let them be hungry." Chapter 347. Including the Iron Infantry camp, there were over 50,000 corpses of human soldiers outside the city. They were all eaten by the armor demons, but they seemed to be in a state of hunger again, which made Lin Muyu's heart cold. This was enough to prove that the number of armor demons was at least 10 times that of the first day. Now there were at least 100,000 armor demons surrounding Winterfrost City. "Watch out!" Qin Yan shouted loudly, but it was too late. Puchi! A soldier of the temple camp was pierced through by a spear thrown by an armor demon. The force was too great, and the spear pierced through his heart. When he fell, he was already a corpse. This was the most powerful and only long-range attack of the armor demons. Although their accuracy was poor once they hit the target, it was almost certain death. That was how the corpses of the Empire soldiers on the city wall were formed. Lin Muyu continued to shoot arrows down the city wall, as if there was no one around her. She used the first move of star tactics, initial appearance of starlight, and infused her Xian energy into the arrows. She killed the armor demons one by one, which amazed Minzhan, Wangxi, and the others. This was the cultivation of the people from the Holy Temple. As a result, a thick layer of armor demons' corpses piled up in front of Lin Muyu, which attracted more armor demons. They kept throwing iron spears, and the 3-meter-long iron spears whooshed in the air. It was very frightening. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was not afraid of such attacks at all. Golden light appeared around her, and the wall of the calabash was enough to defend her. Moreover, she was wearing a thick layer of battle armor, which made it even more difficult for the armor demons to hurt her. The armor demons' siege lasted until late at night. Finally, they retreated like the tide. A military advisor walked over and looked at the pile of corpses outside the city in astonishment. He cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Great Deacon, did you kill all these armor demons by yourself?" "No, I killed them with everyone else," said Lin Muyu. The military advisor was dumbfounded. "Great Deacon, you may be braver than General Du Hai." Lin Muyu's expression darkened. Unfortunately, the great general still died in Lei Chong's hands. By the side, Qin Yan said with a smile, Lord Advisor, aren't you all in charge of collecting heads and so on to record battle merits? My big brother killed at least hundreds of armor demons by himself today. How should we calculate this achievement? The military advisor cupped his fists respectfully and said, Young prince, based on the great deacon's contributions, he has killed 100 demons and can be promoted to captaincy. But the great deacon is the great deacon of the temple. He may be promoted to a commander. Qin Yan patted his shoulder and said, Then after we return to the imperial capital, you have to clear my big brother's name. Humph. Such a person with such outstanding contributions is actually being ostracized and unable to enter the empire's military system. There's simply no justice in this world. The advisor's body trembled and he smiled. These things? I am just a lowly official in the army. I don't know much. Humph, just tell me the truth. Yes, as long as I return to Lanyan City alive, I will report the merits of this battle to the Grand Deacon. Good, it's a promise. After dismissing the military advisor, the Marquis of Divine Might Min Yulin walked up the city walls under the escort of a group of generals. Looking at the vast expanse outside the city and the corpses of the Empire's soldiers on the walkway, he frowned and said, The demons' attacks are becoming fiercer and fiercer. It seems that they have also sensed that our rations are severely lacking. Lin Muyu said, Marquis, if they really want us to starve to death in the city, there's no need to forcefully attack the city like this. The dead armor demons will only be wasted for nothing. Young General thinks that there's a trap? Min Yulin asked in surprise. Yes, at least this is unusual, Lin Muyu said calmly. If that's the case, Min Yulin said, we have no other way but to take things one step at a time, and do our best to delay the demon's attack. Hopefully, the reinforcements will arrive one day earlier. Yes. The armor demons have already left. Open the city gates and draw the arrows. Otherwise, the arrows in the city will be used up in 2 days. Yes. After Min Yulin left, Lin Muyu took Qin Yan, Chen Han, and the others out of the city to draw the arrows. After defending the city for so many days, drawing arrows seemed to be a daily routine. Apart from them, Min Zhan, Su Ying, Chai Hong, and the other commanders also led people out of the city to draw arrows. However, they didn't bring many people, in case the demons came back and suffered too many losses. Puffed! When Qin Yan pulled a white drill arrow out of the mouth of a demon, strands of green blood splattered out. He couldn't help but frown and say, What the hell? Why is this demon's blood green? On the other side, Chen Han also nodded and said, It's the same here. Today's armor demons actually have green blood. What's going on? Lin Muyu said, They're all monsters anyway. Who cares? Clean up the arrows and don't touch them with your hands to prevent infection. When you return to camp, remember to wash the arrowheads with boiling water. Otherwise, they can't be used again. Understood? Yes. Although Chen Han accepted the order, he asked in astonishment, Great Deacon, why do we need to wash them with boiling water? This subordinate has never seen such a strange method in so many years. Could it be that this can make the arrows even sharper? No. Lin Muyu explained simply, I'm just worried that there's a virus on the armor demons' bodies. We can't handle this kind of virus, so we need to disinfect them. Anyway, it's always better to be more cautious. This method of burning them with boiling water is called disinfecting. But even if I said it, you guys probably wouldn't understand at all. Qin Yan and Chen Han both nodded and said, We really don't understand at all. I knew it. At night, after returning to camp, they were completely exhausted. All they could get for dinner was half a large army flatbread. Lin Muyu sat on the millstone beside the temple's camp, watching Chen Han and the others disinfect the arrowheads from afar. At the same time, she held a bowl of vegetable soup in her hands and chewed on the flatbread. At this time, Qin Yan walked over with 2 thick flatbread in his hands. He handed it to Lin Muyu and said with a smile, Big brother, eat more to have the strength to kill the enemy. Where did you get this from? Lin Muyu asked in surprise. Qin Yan smiled slightly. The people of the Spirit Fire Department are all our people. Isn't it an easy task to get 2 more flatbread? Lin Muyu pushed the flatbread away and returned it to Qin Yan, saying, Yen, you eat it. I've had enough. Big brother, don't lie. You have a strong body. This half flatbread doesn't even have one tail. How can you be full? You are the commander of our temple camp. If you don't have the strength to kill the enemy, what will the soldiers do? Qin Yan's face was flushed red. He was still too young and immature. Although his cultivation was shocking, he was still like a child. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh, saying, All right then, we'll split it in half. Good, that's more like it. Qin Yan put the long spear to the side and picked up the vegetable soup to smell. He smiled, saying, In the past I felt that eating meat soup was too greasy. But now eating this vegetable soup, I actually feel that it's delicious. Heh, interesting. Lin Muyu was a little sad, saying, Yen, it's all my fault for bringing you guys into this dangerous place. You guys are still young and shouldn't have died here. But don't worry, I will do my best to bring you guys back to Lanyan City alive. Qin Yan was taken aback, and his eyes were a little red as he said, Big brother, what are you saying? Ever since my brother died in battle, Yen has long treated you as my only family. You Lin Muyu are my big brother and will always be. If we really die in battle here, Yen will definitely not regret it. It's just that big brother, you're different. Her Highness the Empress and Princess, she both love you so much. The two of you should have lived happily together, and not die a humiliating death in this damn place. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. He reached out and patted his shoulder, saying, Good brother, it definitely won't happen. We can walk out of Winter Mountain alive. And the next morning, Lin Muyu slowly woke up. The 7 planets' profound energy and the power of the stars were slowly circulating in her body, and there was actually a feeling of mutual reflection. These 2 powers didn't clash with each other, which was a good thing. Great Deacon, are you awake? Chun Han's voice came from outside the tent. Lin Muyu got up and put on her armor, saying, I'm awake, what's wrong? Something big happened. Oh, what happened? This morning many of our brothers fell sick. They have headaches and fever, and many of their eyes are bloody. I don't know what's going on. Great Deacon, quickly come and take a look. Lin Muyu hurriedly went out of the tent. Qin Yan, Chun Han, and the others were all waiting. Heading towards the wounded barracks, they could see 6 soldiers lying on the ground from afar. Almost all of their symptoms were the same. Their faces were red, their foreheads were burning, and their eyes were bloodshot. Their bodies were weak, and their high fever didn't subside. What's going on? Lin Muyu asked. They've been suffering from this strange illness since last night. A medical officer of the Spirit Medicine Department said respectfully, My lord, we are unable to diagnose what their illness is. It's not heat poison, nor is it an ordinary high fever. Furthermore, after these 6 soldiers were sent here, they actually infected the original wounded soldiers here, causing them to also have high fever that won't subside. Isolate all the people with high fever, Lin Muyu said indifferently. Don't let them come into contact with anyone, in case they get infected again. Yes. Lin Muyu looked at Qin Yan and said, Yen, investigate which army these 6 soldiers belong to, and what similar things they have done. Qin Yan nodded. Yes. Not long after, Qin Yan returned and said, Big brother, I found out. Almost all of these soldiers participated in the arrow extraction mission after yesterday's battle. As expected, those demons. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth and punched a stone pillar at the side, saying angrily, We've been tricked. The armor demons that attacked the city yesterday were already infected. The demons are so vicious. They want to send the plague into Winterfrost City. Then what about these sick brothers? Qin Yan asked. I don't know either. Let's wait for the Marquis to arrive first. Amen. Not long after, Min Yulin rode his horse to the casualty barracks. Lin Muyu immediately summarized the situation. Min Yulin's expression was very grave, and he was silent. Marquis, what should we do? There are more and more people infected, Su Wentian said urgently. Even a few Kiliarchs under my command have been infected. The demon clan is trying to kill us all. Min Yulin closed his eyes in pain, his eyelids trembling continuously. He murmured, Seal off the casualty barracks. No one is allowed to approach. Immediately bury all the infected people. No one is to disobey. Bury the Empire's soldiers alive. Su Wentian's face was full of shock. Chapter 348. On August 2nd, year 7734 of the Empire calendar, Winterfrost City ran out of food and had to kill horses for food. According to Min Yulin's order, they started with the war horses of the ordinary cavalrymen, followed by the sergeants, centurions, and chiliarchs. At the same time, the demons used arrows to send the plague into Winterfrost City. This plague killed nearly 20,000 Imperial soldiers and 50,000 civilians. It was summer, and the stench of corpses filled the air in Winterfrost City. Since then, no one dared to look down on the intelligence of the demons. Everyone believed that the high-level demons were not fools. At night, the stars were dim. Lin Muyu rode her horse slowly on the streets of Winterfrost City. She could only see corpses that had starved to death. Many houses were closed, but there was a disgusting stench coming from inside. Most likely, a family had starved to death. Originally, Lin Muyu thought that the Yangwei army would bring the empire back to Lingdong province, but she did not expect that it would only bring death. However, even if the Yangwei army did not come, this place would still be in a desperate situation, because the demons would eventually come. Great Deacon, there are corpses over there, Shenhan said. Stuff their mouths and noses with cloth and bury them on the spot. Yes. This was Lin Muyu's job these days. She led the temple camp to bury the corpses everywhere. After the plague, the temple camp had shrunk from nearly 300 people to about 150. They could see people dying every day, and everyone seemed to have gotten used to it. From the initial discomfort when they saw the corpses, they were now indifferent. This was the change after the baptism of war. At this moment, they were no longer the high and mighty cultivators in the temple camp, but just soldiers of the empire. Still no news from the capital? Lin Muyu asked. No. Qin Yan shook his head, his face full of desolation as he said, Big brother, you've also seen the winged people of the demon race. I'm guessing that the messenger bird we released was most likely intercepted and killed by these winged people in the air. Otherwise, the imperial capital would have sent 1 or 2 letters to Winterfrost City no matter what. Yes. Lin Muyu thought about it carefully. What Qin Yan said was right. No one knew when the devil race had formed an encirclement around Winterfrost City, and their winged people must have already sealed off the sky. Therefore, Winterfrost City could not send or receive a letter. This place was completely sealed off. Perhaps in the eyes of the devil race, this Yangwei army was like a rabbit in a cage, ready to be slaughtered and cooked at any time. Qin Yan continued saying, originally, there weren't many warhorses left in the army, not more than 3,000. Among them, close to half were infected with the plague and can't be eaten. Only 1,500 are left. It's simply not enough to eat 30,000 people. 20 people eating a horse, how many days can it last? I'm afraid I'll have to stop eating in 3 days at most. Lin Muyu kept quiet, and after a while she asked, Did the Marquis order the slaughter of our war horses? Yes, the order arrived this morning. The Marquis said that apart from me, you, and Lord Shenhan's war horses, the rest of the war horses will be handed over to young General Min Zhan tomorrow morning, and he will slaughter and distribute them. Lin Muyu was stunned, and reached out to caress the war horse he was sitting on. This horse was chosen by Qin Yin from the stable in Zetian Palace Hall, but in a few days he might not even be able to keep this horse. Late at night, when he returned to the barracks, the people from the spiritual fire department sent meat soup. It was freshly cooked horse meat soup. Lin Muyu was given a big bowl, and it could be considered as a full meal. At this time he didn't dare to wake a Catasaurus. This little guy had a huge appetite, and could eat a horse in one meal. At this time he definitely couldn't afford to keep it, so he let it continue to sleep in the different space. After starving for so many days, to suddenly eat meat, it was a strange feeling. Lin Muyu chewed on the horse meat in big mouthfuls, but he couldn't taste it, as if he was drinking poison to quench his thirst. After eating, he sat in the barracks to cultivate the star arts, but he was still unable to break through to the 3rd stage of the star arts, and this made him extremely frustrated. In the middle of the night, there was suddenly a loud bang from the north. What happened? Lin Muyu hurriedly stepped out of the barracks, and Qin Yan was already walking over with his spear. I don't know, it seems like something happened at the north gate. It can't be. Lin Muyu's heart sank and said, Follow me immediately. The two of them rode side by side, and the rest of the soldiers could only walk, because the war horses had already been slaughtered for meat. The north wall was ablaze, and when Lin Muyu rushed over, he saw a large hole in the wall. The city was in flames, and a group of soldiers were surrounding a large fire pit, and there was a meteorite there. A heavenly ominous star. There will be a great calamity. An old soldier said shakily. Don't be an alarmist. Lin Muyu walked over and said with a frown. It's just a meteorite. What dogsh asterisk t ominous star. If you continue to spread lies, I'll chop you up immediately. That old soldier hurriedly knelt down and said with a trembling body, My lord, please spare me. This lowly one will not dare to do it again. Lin Muyu could not bear to see him like this, and went forward to help him up and explained. There will always be some small celestial bodies flying in the universe, and they are called meteorites. This is a kind of natural phenomenon, and not some ominous star. How could the old soldier understand? Min Zhan's face was full of anger. Chapter 349. The Marquis is here. The Marquis is here. In the distance, Min Yulin rode over. He wore a marquis's cloak and looked at everyone with a pale face. What happened? Min Zhan said. Father, the people of Qihai City are causing trouble. They say they don't have enough to eat. Everyone doesn't have enough to eat. Min Yulin's eyes turned cold. But so what? Even if they can't eat their fill, they have to hold on until the reinforcements arrive. Wang Shi cupped his fists. Does the Marquis know when the reinforcements will arrive? I don't know. Min Yulin said lightly, but I know Her Highness will not abandon us. I know Duke Lan and Duke Yin will not abandon the soldiers of the Empire. So we must continue to wait. Wang Shi was silent and did not say anything else. Lin Muyu brought Qin Yan and the rest up the city walls, looking at the demon army camp from afar. After so many days of observation, the demon army seemed to have started to become orderly. They were currently learning things such as military law and discipline from the human army. They were no longer like a swarm of bees when they first saw them. They could even see the fluttering flags in the demon camp from afar. They didn't know what they believed in, but there must be something they believed in. Perhaps it was the 9 great gods of ancient times. How many days has it been since the demons attacked the city? Lin Muyu asked. For days, Qin Yan answered. Qin Yan replied. Ever since that plague, we no longer dared to go out of the city to pull arrows. The remaining arrows have almost all been used up. The iron in the smithy in the city has all been melted to forge arrows, but it is far from enough. In a few more days, I'm afraid that we won't even have the strength to kill our way out. Yes. At night, there was a sudden commotion in the city. When Lin Muyu walked out of her tent, one of Min Yulin's personal guards galloped over and shouted, General, the Marquis wants you to go to the central camp for orders. Yes, I know. Lin Muyu leapt onto her horse and followed behind. Qin Yan and Shen Han followed closely beside her. When they entered the city lord's great hall, they discovered that Min Zhan, Su Ying and the others were also there. The only one missing was 7 Seas City Commander Wang Shi. Marquis. Min Yulin nodded. Young General, there's been a mutiny in the army. Mutiny? Yes, Wang Shi is leading 5,000 soldiers of 7 Seas City to the north gate. They are threatening to open the city gate. They are not willing to sit still and wait for death. Our fire halberd city has always been at odds with 7 Seas City, so it is not appropriate for us to suppress them. I will give you 10,000 soldiers now. Immediately bring them to the north gate to suppress Wang Shi's mutiny. Yes. Lin Muyu stepped forward to receive the token. Min Zhan and Su Ying followed behind her. This time Min Zhan and Su Ying had to listen to Lin Muyu's orders. At this critical moment, his identity as the Imperial Emperor's foster son seemed to be useful. leading his 10,000 men straight to the north gate. He could see Wang Shi and the 7 Sea Cities men from afar, currently pulling on the iron chains of the city gate to open it. Wang Shi, Qin Yan said loudly. Are you mad? The armored demon army is just a few hundred meters away. Do you want to let them into the city? Wang Shi's face was full of anger as he said, I don't care. I can't watch my brothers starve to death in Winterfrost City. They will die if they kill their way out, but they will die if they stay in the city. Do not open the gate. Min Zhan shouted angrily. No one move. Wang Shi's eyes were fierce as he said, Archers, get ready. If they dare take another step forward, immediately shoot them dead. Don't move. Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, It is not worth it to die in the hands of our own people. Let them out of the city. Qin Yan Chen Han, take some men to the city walls. Once they leave the city, immediately seal the gate. Don't let the demons take advantage of the situation. Yes. Min Zhan had a look of shock. General, are we really letting them out of the city? Are they committing treason? It is not treason when people are about to die. Lin Muyu said indifferently. Finally, the city gate slowly rose with the sound of iron chains twisting. The 5,000 soldiers of 7 Seas City quickly left the city. Wang Shi rode his horse at the front of the formation with his weapon in hand and shouted, Men, raise the white flag. The white flag in the army swayed as Wang Shi raised his weapon high and shouted, My lords of the divine race, we surrender. We are willing to be your slaves. We only ask for our lives. Lin Muyu climbed up the city wall and watched Wang Shi's men leave the city from afar. She felt very upset. The demonic army seemed to have noticed the situation in Winterfrost City and immediately surrounded them. An armored demon carrying a battle axe walked forward and sniffed Wang Shi's scent. Wang Shi was so scared that he trembled all over and said in a trembling voice, Lord Protoss, we surrender with sincerity. Roar. The armored demon roared at Wang Shi's face. Its aura was so strong that the muscles on Wang Shi's face were almost twisted. The next moment, he swung the battle axe in his hand, and Wang Shi's head immediately flew into the air. Bastard! A 7 Seas City captaincy shouted with a livid face. These demons have no humanity at all. Brothers, fight it out with them. Even if we die, we have to die happily. Yes. The two sides quickly collided, and a few minutes later, it became a massacre. The people of 7 Seas City were already so hungry that they had no strength. Moreover, fighting in the wild was what the demons were good at. Should we leave the city to help them? Qin Yan asked. Lin Muyu shook her head slowly. Leaving the city at this time is suicide. Don't go. Quickly close the city gate. Yes. A group of soldiers hurriedly pulled the noose to lower the gate. Right then, the armored demons who were close to the gate also noticed this situation. They spread their wings and flew over here, while uttering shrill shrieks. They were about to rush into the gate. Don't move, I'll go. Lin Muyu pulled out the dragon spirit sword and rushed down. With a slash, an armored demon's head and shoulders were cut into two with a kacha sound. She turned and leaped up to avoid the sweeping axe of another armored demon. She raised her battle boots and kicked its face. That ugly face instantly twisted and two sharp teeth flew into the air. Lin Muyu pulled out a little demon noise blade from her waist. At the same time the blade cut off the arm of another armored demon. The little demon noise blade swept through the air and cut the throat of the armored demon in front of her. However, more and more armored demons appeared in the distance. There were almost 100 of them rushing over. Courting death. Lin Muyu's face was full of anger. As she spun, streams of astral energy gathered in her palm. At the same time, her whole body felt like it was being torn apart. Her arm was almost broken by the vigorous astral energy. Starlight suddenly blossomed, turning into a horizontal shock wave that blasted out. In an instant, almost 100 meters below the city, seemed to have turned into a bright galaxy. 7 glorious stars transformation. Boom. The astral energy rushed out like breaking dry weeds, and smashed a large group of armored demons into a pile of minced meat. The power of the entire heaven and earth seemed to have completely erupted at this moment. Time froze. Everyone on the city wall was already dumbfounded. What kind of person could kill over 100 armored demons with one palm? G. Lin Muyu panted heavily. Her eyes were bloodshot as she looked at the pile of minced meat of armored demons in front of her. She leaped up and wrapped the gourd vines around the wall. After 2 leaps, she landed on the city wall. Great Deacon, this move of yours is so powerful, Min Zhan said with a face full of admiration. However, Lin Muyu's face was livid. She let out a cry and spat out a mouthful of blood. She fell on the cold bricks of the city wall. The muscles all over her body twitched. She was in so much pain that she clenched her teeth and curled up there. This was the price of using the 7 glorious stars transformation. Not only her soul, but even her body would also suffer from the crazy backlash of the 7 glorious stars transformation. Big brother. Qin Yan rushed forward to help him up. His heart ached so much that his tears were about to fall. Big brother, are you all right? Help me back to the camp. Lin Muyu's voice was like a mosquito's buzz. Amen. Qin Yan and Shen Han hurriedly helped him up and hurried back to the camp. No one could save Lin Muyu. The only way to save him was to rely on his own body's recovery. Min Zhan and Suing looked at each other. They could see the reverence and heartache in each other's eyes. Lin Muyu's attack was truly soul-stirring. At the same time, it also made the soldiers on the city wall dumbfounded. No one knew that a human's strength could be strong to this extent. Raising his head, Min Zhan saw that Wang Shi's troops in the distance had all been slaughtered. The so-called fight with the devil race. Actually, the total number of armored demons killed would not exceed 10. The disparity in strength was too great. At this moment, Min Zhan's gaze had an additional hint of determination as he said, "Defend the city for me. The empire is not destroyed." This short sentence gave the soldiers on the city wall an additional trace of confidence. At this moment, thousands of miles away in the suppressing demon pass, the sky was filled with stars. The summer night breeze gently swept past, so cool that it was intoxicating. On top of the city wall, a beautiful girl wearing short boots was sitting on the battlement with her graceful figure. Behind her, a light muslin robe swayed gently in the wind. Her gaze was looking at the distant east. Suddenly, her heart ached slightly and she let out a whimper. "Princess, what's wrong?" Beside her, Tang Zhen, who was guarding with a group of guards, could not help but ask. "Nothing." Tang Xiaoxi shook her head in pain and said, "Tang Zhen, I suddenly feel uneasy for no reason. I always feel that something has happened. I'm worried that Lin Muyu will." Tang Zhen smiled slightly. "Your Highness, rest assured. 2 days ago, the imperial capital just received the news of the Yangwei army. They have successfully defeated the 70,000 Iha country troops led by Man Fong, the son of Marquis Xiang. Moreover, it was a complete victory. Master Lin Muyu will definitely be fine." That was only the letter from half a month ago. After that, there was no more. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were like water as she said, "The letter from Lingdong province to Lanyan city is at most 5 days. Why is it like this? I don't understand. Tang Zhen, from now on, you will guard the suppressing demon pass. You have to get along well with Ling Huyan, and don't make trouble. I will go back to the imperial capital tomorrow. I can't stay here any longer. No, I have to go back to the imperial capital now. Prepare the horse immediately. Xiaoyin must also need me at this time." "Princess, do it immediately." "Yes." Chapter 350. On the 9th day of the 8th month, the weather was so hot that it seemed like it was going to roast everything on the earth. What was even worse was that Winterfrost City had been without any food supplies for almost 4 days. Lin Muyu's warhorse had also been slaughtered, and even Min Yulin's own mount had been used as food, but it was still to no avail. The remaining 20,000 soldiers had eaten almost everything in Winterfrost City. The barks of the trees in the city had all been stripped bare, and many soldiers had dug 3 feet into the ground in search of earthworms, rats, and other animals. The entire city was deathly silent. With her stomach rumbling, Lin Muyu held the hilt of the dragon spirit sword at her waist as she walked step by step on the city's main street. Wherever her gaze passed, she saw the imperial soldiers sitting powerlessly on the side of the road. None of them had the strength to stand up and walk, much less carry out their daily training. "Big brother." Qin Yan ran over excitedly, wiped his chapped lips and said, "Let's go back to camp quickly. I've made some delicious food. Perhaps it can fill your stomach a little. Oh. Lin Muyu followed him back to the camp and saw that Chen Han was boiling a large pot. A faint fragrance came from the pot, and he couldn't help but ask in surprise. What is this? Didn't we already eat everything 2 days ago? You'll know very soon. After a while, Qin Yan lifted the lid of the pot and saw pieces of black stuff rolling about in the boiling water. It was precisely these things that were emitting a faint fragrance. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown and say, What is this? Cowhide taken out from the armor. Qin Yan said excitedly. Although the cowhide is impervious to fire and water, it will actually loosen up like pigskin after boiling it for 2 hours. I believe that the taste must be pretty good. Big brother, you sit down. I'll scoop a bowl for you in a while. You just wait to enjoy a delicious meal. Lin Muyu laughed wryly. I only need a little. Give some more to the brothers. They've been hungry for many days. Okay, I got it. A few minutes later, a bowl of soup was served to Lin Muyu. A palm-sized piece of cowhide was floating on top of the soup. The skin had been boiled and emitted a faint fragrance. Lin Muyu picked it up with chopsticks and took a bite, but it was tasteless as if she was biting a piece of hard paper. Lin Muyu frowned. She didn't care so much and quickly chewed. She swallowed the piece of cowhide with a gulp. She didn't know what it tasted like at all, but at least there was something in her stomach. At this moment, a messenger shouted from outside the camp. Great Deacon Lin Muyu of the temple camp, the Marquis has summoned all the generals for a meeting. Got it. I'll go right away. All right. Lin Muyu stood up and instructed Qin Yan and Chen Han to pack up the camp. She then went to the city lord's mansion. The generals in the city lord's mansion all had pale faces. Even Min Yulin's complexion was not very good. His face was frighteningly pale. Presumably, he was not like this when he was in Lanyan City. Generals. Min Yulin slowly stood up with the support of an iron spear. His marquee robe was wrinkled from sitting for too long. He looked at the crowd and said lightly, We are ready to go home. A captaincy of Muyu City was stunned. Marquis, we are surrounded by the demons. How can we go home? Min Yulin smiled and said, 5 days ago, General Chai Hong, the commander of the Tomahawk Battalion, led his men to dig a tunnel under the east wall of the city. The tunnel is 2 miles long, completely out of the demons' encirclement. We will retreat tonight. Every battalion summoned centurions and above to retreat together. Lin Muyu's heart sank. What about the ordinary soldiers? Min Yulin shook his head. If there are too many, the demons will definitely notice. Centurions and above are all elites of the empire. Where there is life, there is hope. When we return to Lanyan City, we can still recruit new soldiers. With some training, they will become a strong army. It won't be too late to avenge the soldiers who died in Winterfrost City. Suing nodded. The Marquis's words are reasonable. Every battalion, do as I say. Lin Muyu didn't say anything more. She cupped her fists and said, Yes. Time passed. At night the stars dimmed. Lin Muyu led Qin Yan, Chen Han, and a few other centurions and above to the east side of the city. Along the way, they only saw silent imperial soldiers sitting on both sides of the road. Some of them had been dead for a long time and had died of starvation. As for the tens of thousands of people in Winterfrost City, they had long since died of starvation. Many of them had their last rations stolen by the imperial army, so they naturally couldn't continue living. Qin Yan frowned and said, The rest can only stay here and wait for death? Chen Han sighed and didn't speak. Lin Muyu said lightly, Keep our bodies that are still useful, and then avenge them. I didn't think that the demons would descend from the sky before the Iha nation's blood debt was settled. Qin Yan said, Compared to the Iha nation, the demons are probably even more cruel. And they eat people. Lin Muyu was silent. The fire ahead flickered, but no one spoke. Min Yulin stood at the edge of the cave in his marquee robes, watching the officers of the Tomahawk Battalion enter. There were 7,000 to 8,000 people in the Tomahawk Battalion, so there were 70 to 80 high-ranking officers added together. After entering the cave, old General Suing raised his hand and said, Let's wait for Commander Chai Hong to understand the situation at the cave's exit first. Protect the marquee and retreat after it's safe. Everyone cupped their fists and said in a low voice, "Yes." However, Chai Hong and the others did not come out after entering the cave. After nearly 2 hours, Min Yulin frowned and said, "What's going on? Why did it take so long?" "Minjan, go down and take a look." "Yes, father." Minjan pulled out his sword and jumped into the cave. But in the next moment he flipped out with a leg covered in muddy water and said, "Father, it's bad, it's all water." "What?" Min Yulin turned pale with fright. Seeing that the water at the entrance of the cave was about to be level with the ground, the people who had entered the cave must have all drowned. Su Ying's face was full of pain as he said, "It's over. This group of bastard demons must have found the cave." So they dug up the water of the Dao River and poured it into the cave. Commander Chai Hong. Everyone was silent as the last bit of hope disappeared. Min Yulin closed his eyes, his body trembling under the starlight. His face was full of pain as he looked up at the sky and said, "Why me, Min Yulin?" "What? Father?" Min Zhan looked up at Min Yulin and asked, "What should we do now?" "We don't know what to do. Let's return to the city lord's mansion." Min Yulin said, "We've run out of food. Our 25,000 people can't hold on any longer. Prepare to open the city gates tomorrow and fight to the death with the demons." Perhaps Wang Shi is right. Rather than waiting for death here, it's better to die in battle. Even killing one more armor demon is a sign of loyalty to the empire. Yes. Minjan, Su Ying, and the hundreds of high-ranking generals left, leaving only Lin Muyu, Qin Yan, and the others here. "Big brother, aren't we leaving?" Qin Yan asked in surprise. Lin Muyu looked at the Daojiang water in the cave, her eyes very clear. She suddenly laughed bitterly and said, "Yan, I've entered the homes of several fishermen before. There are many fishing nets in their homes. Take a few people to find them. Lord Chen Han, go to the temple camp and the spirit fire department, and call over those who still have some strength. Have them excavate and widen this tunnel to bring in large amounts of Daojiang water." Qin Yan and Chen Han's eyes lit up at the same time. Qin Yan said with a smile, "Big brother is so smart, to actually know how to beat them at their own game. It's just a stopgap measure. Go do it quickly." Yes. Late at night, hundreds of people dug with all their might and quickly widened the tunnel into a pond with a radius of several hundred meters. The corpses of Chai Hong and the others gradually floated out, and were buried on the spot under Lin Muyu's orders. Just as expected, the Daojiang water brought in many fish. Qin Yan's first net caught a fish that weighed at least 3 kilograms, winning the cheers of a group of soldiers. Chen Han and the others also followed suit, using nets to catch fish. Not long after, the temple camp had caught at least 100 kilograms of fish. They set up a large pot to the side, and it didn't matter even if the seasoning was used up. A pot of fragrant fish soup was quickly prepared, and everyone gathered around to share it. Actually, everyone only ate 30% full, but it was enough. At midnight, they caught another 100 kilograms of fish. Under Lin Muyu's orders, Qin Yan took these fish to Min Yulin. It was also on this night that pieces of food suddenly fell from the sky. There were wild boar legs, deer meat, and even dead wild rabbits and other prey. The soldiers in Winterfrost City cheered. "We can't eat this food." Lin Muyu looked at the sky and said with certainty, "Yen passed down the order. No one is allowed to eat the food that fell from the sky." Qin Yan nodded. "Yes." Chen Han was confused. "Why, Grand Deacon? Why would there be prey falling from the sky out of nowhere? It must be the winged demons. They know we are starving, so they want to poison us. Don't eat it." "Yes." However, the soldiers in the city were all starving, so they didn't care if it was poisonous or not. Many of them swallowed it even though they knew it was poisonous, and they wanted to be hungry ghosts even if they died. The result did not disappoint them, and all those who ate the food died with blood flowing out of their orifices. Early in the morning, the office of the mayor's mansion was silent. How many people were poisoned to death? Min Yulin asked. 3,000. Su Ying said. Min Yulin showed a pained expression. The cunning demons, too cunning. Men, go and cooperate with Madame Lin Muyu to widen the water source of the Rice River. Catch as many fish as possible. Don't let people starve to death again. At this time, A 7 Seas city officer wearing the insignia of captaincy cupped his fist and said, "Marquis, this subordinate has a solution." "General Shirhua, please speak." Shirhua's expression turned cold. "The soldiers who died not long ago, their corpses." "Shut up." Min Yulin slammed the table and stood up, angrily saying, "I, Min Yulin, would rather starve to death than eat people." Shirhua was surprised and lowered his head. "Yes, Marquis is wise. Just pretend this subordinate didn't say anything." Chapter 351. In the afternoon of the next day, the water source of the Rice River suddenly stopped. Finally, the demon race still discovered this secret. They had already blocked the other end of the tunnel. Everyone once again fell into a desperate situation. The loss of food caused everyone to fall into a state of near madness. At night, a cool breeze swept through the small town. Lin Muyu sat on the long stairs of the Spirit Fire Department, silently sitting there. Her stomach was empty. She did not know how long she could last. A whoa! At this moment, the cry of the little dragon was suddenly heard. "Be good." Lin Muyu used her spirit sense to communicate with the little dragon. "Right now there is nothing for you to eat. Just stay in the different space obediently. If I die, you will be free." Unexpectedly, the little dragon was still unwilling to give up. "Oh." It seemed to want to say something to Lin Muyu. However, Acatosaurus was still too young. It did not know the dragon language at all. Naturally, it was even more unable to communicate with Lin Muyu. Looking around, the people of the Spirit Fire Department were all sleeping soundly from hunger. No one paid attention to this place. Lin Muyu stood up and went to the corner of the camp. With a sharp cry, her spirit sense went berserk. Poochie! A space crack was forcibly torn open in the air. Immediately, Acatosaurus's body at least 3 meters long drilled out of the space crack. It let out a cry and acted like a spoiled child. "What's wrong?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. The little dragon slowly crawled to its master's side. Suddenly, it opened its mouth. In the darkness, its mouth was actually holding a beast's leg that weighed at least 100 pounds. This beast's leg was wrapped in a thick layer of stone skin. However, from the wound, one could see that the inside was all red meat. After the little dragon put down the beast's leg, it raised its head and let out a cry. It wagged its tail as if it was asking for credit. Lin Muyu was pleasantly surprised. She hugged Acatosaurus's head and gently stroked it. "Little guy, you have made a great contribution. What animal did this meat come from? It looks very powerful." Acatosaurus shook its head and wagged its tail to its master. In the end, Lin Muyu did not understand a single word. However, she could understand the meaning of the little dragon's confession. It roughly said that after experiencing 81 difficulties in the different space, it slaughtered gods and demons. It killed a giant beast that lived in the deep sea and left its leg for Lin Muyu to have a midnight snack. Gently patting the little dragon's head, Lin Muyu happily said, "All right, you can go hunt in the different space and then send the meat here. Can you eat less? I need this food. I need this food here. After returning to the imperial capital, I will compensate you double. I will open a chicken farm for you. How about it?" Acatosaurus actually nodded its head and agreed to this shameful deal. She quickly sent Acatosaurus back to the different space. However, Lin Muyu knew that the different space was an empty and barren domain. It would not be easy to find a living thing. Moreover, the scales on the little dragon's neck were damaged. It must have gone through a lot to kill that giant deep-sea beast. She did not know when the next time the little dragon would send food over would be, but it had to be sent. Lin Muyu did not want Qin Yan, Shen Han, and the others to starve to death in Winterfrost City. This kind of death was not suitable for them. Yan. Lin Muyu dragged the beast's leg into the camp and said, "Order Shen Han to start a fire and cook this meat for everyone." As she spoke, Lin Muyu pulled out the dragon spirit sword and cut the meat in half with a dang sound. She said, "Give half to the brothers of the temple battalion. The other half, come with me to the marquee." Qin Yan was ecstatic. "Big brother, where did you get this meat? Do you remember that I tamed a dragon?" "Yes. It hunted this from another dimension. So that's how it is." "That's great. Come with me to the city lord's manor to deliver the meat. Okay. Shen Han excitedly started a fire to cook the meat. Lin Muyu dragged the beast's leg and walked shoulder to shoulder with Qin Yan to the city lord's manor. There were few lights along the way, but when they passed by Seven Seas City's camp, they saw that they were currently cooking with a fire. Steam rose from the iron pots, and a faint fragrance permeated the air, even though this fragrance smelled a little strange. Why do they have meat? Qin Yan said in astonishment. I don't know. Lin Muyu strode forward and said, Who's in charge here? A captaincy stood up. It was Shi Hua. A hint of nervousness flashed across his face as he cupped his fists and said, So it's young General Lin Muyu. It's so late, where is young General Lin going? What are you cooking? Lin Muyu asked. Shi Hua hurriedly laughed. Nothing much. My brothers dug up a few rats while digging, so we cooked them for a meal first. Is that so? Let me see. Lin Muyu walked forward in a flash, raising her hand to lift the lid of the pot. Borrowing the light of the torch, she could only see a few human legs and arms currently cooking in the pot. A layer of dazzling oil floated on the surface of the water. Her entire body shuddered, and she hurriedly put down the lid. Shi Hua, you eat humans? Lin Muyu said in astonishment. Yes, I eat humans. A hint of coldness flashed across Shi Hua's eyes, his palm also pressing on the hilt of his sword, saying, I'm extremely hungry. I can eat anything. What's the point of eating humans? Lin Muyu, if you dare tell this matter to the Marquis, I won't let you off. Lin Muyu also smiled. Yen, let's go tell the Marquis. You. Shi Hua suddenly rushed over, shouting in a low voice. Then don't blame me for being impolite. Lin Muyu did not resist, directly turning around and shouting in a low voice. Doqi revolved around her body. Xian energy condensed into a bright star in front of her, directly causing Shi Hua to fly backwards. The corner of his mouth curled up, and he indifferently said, You want to kill me to silence me? Why don't you know what you're worth? Are you worthy? Yen, let's go. Shi Hua stood there in a daze. A group of Seven Seas City soldiers beside him who were dizzy from hunger all stood up one after another, asking, General, this brat is going to tell the Marquis. What should we do? Let's eat first. Shi Hua's eyes were filled with coldness. Pass down the order. Let our brothers eat their fill, sharpen their swords. When the Marquis comes, it will be time for us to fight with our lives on the line. Also, let our brothers at the South City Gate prepare to receive us. Open the city gates at any time, and let the demon race enter the city. I want to see if the Marquis will deal with the demon race first, or us first. Yes, General. Inside the mayor's residence, Min Yulin abruptly slammed his palm on the table, causing cracks to appear on the sturdy surface, his face ashen. Shi Hua, this bastard, is he really eating the corpses of the Empire's soldiers? Absolutely, head deacon and I both saw it. Qin Yan nodded. Bastard. Min Yulin's eyes turned cold. Men, come with me, we're going to get that Shi Hua. The old General Suing cupped his hands, saying, Marquis, absolutely not. Shi Hua is after all the captaincy of Seven Seas City, and Duke Lan is only lending us soldiers, but we cannot lightly touch the important generals of Seven Seas City. Wang Shi deserved his death, but if we touch Shi Hua now, I'm afraid we won't be able to explain it to the Empress and Duke Lan when we return to Lanyan City. Can we still return to Lanyan City? Min Yulin smiled. No need to say more, come with me to get Shi Hua. In any case, we won't be able to hold out for much longer. Yes. The moment they walked out of the mayor's residence, the sky flashed with lightning and thunder, and in the blink of an eye, heavy rain poured down. Before Min Yulin and the others reached the Seven Seas City camp, a soldier rushed over, rolling and crawling in the rain to Min Yulin, crying, Marquis, something bad has happened. Shi Hua has rebelled, and he has led more than 5,000 men to the south of the city, saying that he wants to open the city gates and let the demons enter. It's over. Min Yulin closed his eyes in pain, letting the rain pour over him, saying, Winter Frost City is finished, the Yangwei Legion is finished. Father, let's kill our way out of the city. Yes. Min Yulin looked at the crowd and said, Generals, I will soon lead the Tomahawk Battalion and the Sky Cavalry to the South Gate to resist the demon army. You should lead your troops and break out of the encirclement if you have the chance. It's good to leave a spark for the Yangwei Legion. Yes. Lin Muyu, Su Ying, Su Wentian, and the others received the order. Min Yulin moved with heavy steps to Lin Muyu, took out a piece of white cloth, and held it in his hand, saying, "Young general, you are the foster son of the former emperor, the brother of the empress, and the grand deacon of the Holy Temple. Min Yulin knows that you will definitely return to the capital alive. When you see the empress, please give this to her, and tell her, Min Yulin will repay the empire's kindness in my next life." Lin Muyu took the cloth and unfolded it. On it were 4 blood-red words. "I will not let you down." He trembled slightly, and hurriedly stuffed the cloth into his Qianquan bag. Min Yulin looked at the crowd, cupped his fists and said, "Everyone take care." The crowd bowed again, and after knowing that Min Yulin had turned around and left, they dispersed in the rain. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan went straight to the camp of the Holy Temple camp. "Big brother." Qin Yan was a little vexed, and said, "If we didn't want to expose Shihua for eating people, I'm afraid such an unforeseen event would not have happened. It's all my fault for being too rash." Lin Muyu shook his head. "Don't blame yourself. What kind of person is Shihua? He is eating the corpses of the soldiers now. And after he finishes eating the corpses, I'm afraid he will eat us. Sooner or later, we will have to face each other. Now is just a little earlier. Let's return to the camp first, and prepare to break out after eating." Yes. After returning to the camp, Chun Han had already prepared 2 pieces of meat for Lin Muyu and Qin Yan. Each piece of meat weighed about 7 to 8 taels. Lin Muyu did not stand on ceremony, and started eating the meat in big bites. He knew that perhaps this piece of meat provided him with the energy to escape, and allowed him to live to see Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Chu Yao again. After eating, the people of the Holy Temple camp all put on their straw rain capes, and rushed towards the south gate. In the middle of the night, the sounds of killing rang out from the south gate, and it was pitch black everywhere. The torches had already been extinguished by the rain, and in the dim light, only the sound of swords clashing could be heard. The south gate had already opened, and in the darkness, Min Yulin's loud roar could be heard. "Charge out, all of you, charge out, as many as you can, escape counts." But suddenly in the darkness, a flame burst out. Pung! Dozens of soldiers of the empire were blasted into pieces, and in the light of the flame, Lin Muyu, Qin Yan, and the rest saw a malevolent-looking demon. It was the marshal of the armored demon army, Lei Chong. Chapter 352. Roar! With a roar, Lei Chong smashed the head of a chiliarch into pieces with his war hammer, causing his brains to splatter out. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the surroundings. Outside the city, there were countless armored demons, Shield formation. In the crowd, Minjan rushed out with his sword, facing the sharp claws of the armored demons. The soldiers in the front fell down like wheat being cut, followed by a loud bang. The entire city wall finally collapsed under the rain. Immediately, the armored demons rushed into the city and attacked Min Yulin's flank. Clang! Lin Muyu drew out the dragon soul sword and yelled, "Break through!" Qin Yan, Shen Han, and the rest pulled out their weapons silently, following Lin Muyu as they charged over. An armored demon swung its battle axe at Lin Muyu with a ferocious look on its face. However, Lin Muyu's speed far exceeded its expectations. After dodging the armored demon's attack with a star steps, Lin Muyu's sword flashed, and the armored demon's head flew into the sky. Lin Muyu did not stop and continued to rush forward. The dragon spirit sword shone brightly, and in the blink of an eye, more than a dozen armored demons had been chopped into pieces. At this moment, Lin Muyu didn't want to challenge Lei Chong, nor did she want to attack the main force of the armored demons. Those armored demons seemed to have seen the general flag in the chaos and madly rushed towards Min Yulin. In the blink of an eye, the general flag fell down. In the crowd of armored demons, Min Yulin's saber light was still shining, but it wouldn't last long. Boom! The blunt weapon fell on the armor, and a soldier of Templar camp had a big hole in his chest. He fell down without a sound. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth and rushed forward step by step in the rain, opening the way for Qin Yan, Shen Han, and the others. There were more and more armored demons around, and the number of soldiers of Templar camp decreased sharply. In less than 10 minutes, there were less than 10 people left. Even Shen Han was injured, one of his arms was chopped off. The sound of fighting behind them became softer and softer, as if it was covered by the heavy rain, but it seemed more like the battle was over. Indeed, the armored demons possessed boundless strength and were invulnerable to swords and spears. Their battle prowess was enough to allow them to fight 10 imperial soldiers at once. At this time, there were at least 100,000 armored demons everywhere, while Min Yulin only had 10,000 men. How could he possibly hold them off? Her feet were covered in mud, and rays of golden gourd light lingered around Lin Muyu's body. She did not even bother to conceal the light of her god-binding chain's martial soul. Rays of golden god-binding chains lingered around the longsword, emitting a sword aura that was close to 2 meters long. It swept across time and time again, slicing the clumsy armored demon into 2 halves. Just like that, she brought Qin Yan, Shen Han, and the rest as she charged into the distance. Acatosaurus, open the way for me. With an angry roar, Acatosaurus's spiritual sense broke through the crack in space. It pounced out and bit the head of an armored demon. Then it bit its tail, and the sharp red crystal scales on its back stood up. It rushed out like a thorny needle, and the armored demons in its way were quickly turned into piles of meat. The appearance of Acatosaurus shocked the demons. They had never seen such a monster before. However, it attracted the hatred of the devil race. Battle axes, spears, and other weapons greeted the rolling little dragon. In less than 5 minutes, many holes had appeared on the little dragon's scales. It roared and screamed while attacking. Lin Muyu couldn't bear to see it, and immediately sent the little dragon back to the alternate space. At this moment, she felt a burning pain on her left arm. She did not know when the wound had been torn open, and blood was flowing out. However, she did not have the time to stop the bleeding. Furthermore, she was drifting in the heavy rain, and she did not have the time to do so. Lin Muyu could only charge forward without retreating. However, the number of people behind her was decreasing, and there were only 3 or 4 people following her. At this time, the sound of a rushing river came from ahead. It was the Inwi River. The Inwi River flowed outside Winter Frost City, and it was drawn on the map. Lin Muyu hurriedly said, "Go into the water, swim over." Qin Yan's eyes were still on Lin Muyu's god-binding chains, but he didn't have time to think too much. He jumped into the river and swam with Lin Muyu. Behind them, a group of armored demons stopped when they reached the water's edge. Their feet were in the shallow water, and they could only roar at the river, but they didn't dare to step in again. Armored demons were afraid of water. "Shen Han, Shen Han," Lin Muyu shouted in the darkness. Qin Yan said while paddling, "Big brother, Lord Shen Han died in battle just now." Lin Muyu was silent, paddling with all her might. At this time, a temple camp soldier appeared not far away. He also jumped into the water and shouted, "Great Deacon, I'm here." Lin Muyu activated her Do Qi, and the golden gourd shone brighter. That person hurriedly swam over, but a second later, there was a buzzing sound on the shore, and a black shadow flew over. The next moment, the temple camp soldier's head was smashed into pieces. It was the armored demon's throw. Lin Muyu's heart was cold. Qin Yan said hurriedly, "They are still waiting for us on the shore. Big brother, I will swim to the other side, or we will not be able to escape from the armored demons." Yes. But at this time, there was the sound of an arrow leaving the bow. Not good, it's the winged people. Lin Muyu hurriedly activated her Do Qi, and the golden gourd came out of her body, forming the walls of the gourd above her head. Ding ding dang dang sounds were heard, and the arrows kept bouncing off. The river was very wide, and the 2 of them swam for close to half an hour before reaching the other side. There seemed to be winged people chasing them in the air. "What do we do?" Qin Yan said loudly. Lin Muyu suddenly pressed down on his shoulder, and the 2 of them sprawled in the reeds by the river. Lin Muyu did not make a sound, and used the spirit pulse technique to sense the winged people's aura. After close to 10 minutes, these winged people finally flew away, and he heaved a sigh of relief. He felt as if all the Do Qi in his body had been sucked dry. This battle had used up at least 90% of his Do Qi. "Don't gather any more Do Qi," He looked at Qin Yan and said calmly, "Otherwise, we will be discovered by their winged people very quickly. I think the winged people's night vision is also very limited, and it is raining heavily right now. Let's escape under the cover of the heavy rain. Yan, can you still tell the direction?" Qin Yan nodded and said, "That is the west, in the direction of Lanyan City." "Let's go home." "Yes, go home." When Qin Yan heard the word "go home," he almost cried. The 19 days he was surrounded in Winterfrost City was like a nightmare that he did not want to recall. Taking advantage of the rainy night, the two of them sprinted west, and only took a short break when they were at least 50 miles away from Winterfrost City. The rain was still pouring down, and Qin Yan cried, sitting in the mud and wailing loudly. Lin Muyu was silent. She tore a piece from her blood-stained battle robe, and wrapped it around the wound on her arm. Qin Yan cried for a long time, and finally said, "Big brother, did the Marquis die in battle?" "Yes, he died." "The Marquis was such a good person. Why would he die?" "I don't know." Lin Muyu's mind was also in a mess. She patted Qin Yan's shoulder and said, "Yan, let's go. There are demons everywhere here, and they won't let this go. I don't know. I don't know what the situation in Seongnan province is like. The demons are so greedy. They won't be satisfied with just a small Winterfrost city." "You mean, the demons will advance west?" Qin Yan said in shock. "Yes, they will attack Five Valleys City, then Lanyan City, and destroy the entire empire." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "We must make early preparations, or else we will definitely suffer a crushing defeat. All right, let's go. We don't have time to rest. We must find 2 horses as soon as possible. We will go to Five Valleys City first, then Lanyan City." Yes. The sky brightened and the rain stopped. The rising sun baptized everything on the earth with its golden splendor, as if washing away all the sins left behind from last night's battle. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan no longer looked like high-ranking military officers. Their armor was covered in mud and blood, and their battle robes were dyed red with blood. Even the rain could not wash away the red. At noon, they found a village on the western border of Lingdong province. Fortunately, Lin Muyu's Cosmos sack was still there. They found some Jining coins and ate 2 large bowls of noodles in the village. Then they found the village chief and asked him to move the villagers to Seongnan province. However, the village chief refused them, thinking that these 2 were just street swindlers. In reality, this was indeed the case. 2 shabbily dressed people, who would believe that one was a great deacon of the temple, and the other was a young prince. Lin Muyu did not waste her breath. There was no need to waste time on people that could not be saved. She bought 2 pretty good battle horses and galloped with Qin Yan to Seongnan province. The next day, they arrived at the border of the province. There was a main road ahead, which was also the official road that connected Seongnan province to Lingdong province. The 2 of them galloped forward until noon. Some guards appeared on the road. They had set up a checkpoint here, but there were still at least 3 days of galloping horses before they reached Five Valley City. "Dismount." A centurion walked forward and looked at Lin Muyu and Qin Yan with a strange expression. He asked, "Who are you?" Lin Muyu dismounted and pulled off the tattered cloak on her shoulder, revealing the golden leaf of the great deacon of the temple. She said, "I am the great deacon of the temple, Lin Muyu. He is the son of Prince Yining, Qin Yan. We are from Winterfrost City." The centurion rolled his eyes and suddenly laughed. He pointed at them and laughed. "You 2 swindlers actually dare to deceive me. Isn't Winterfrost City at war with the Yihe Kingdom? If you are really from the Yangwei army, why are you here? Are you defeated soldiers? Where is the great deacon of the temple, Lin Muyu? Would the 4 heroes of Lanyan look as miserable as you?" The soldiers on the side also laughed. Qin Yan frowned and said indifferently, "The Yangwei army has been completely destroyed." "What did you say?" The centurion laughed even more wildly. "Bullshit. Minulin, the Marquis of Wei, has shaken the world and defeated the 70,000 main forces of the Yihe Kingdom. Now he is holding a celebration banquet in Winterfrost City. How dare you say that the Yangwei army has been completely destroyed?" Chapter 353. Clang. The long sword was unsheathed, and the blade pressed against the neck of the centurion. Lin Muyu's gaze was calm as she said, I have no time to talk nonsense with you here. Which corps do you belong to, and who is the highest commander here? The centurion was dumbstruck and said, We belong to the Seongnan Province Governor's Office, a corps directly under the Seven Seas Province. The highest commander is the vanguard Captain Si Zhongmeng. Take me to see him immediately. Yes. In the depths of the dense forest on the side of the official road was the barracks, garrisoned with 10,000 imperial troops. However, these troops did not seem to be able to stop the invasion of the demon race. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan urged their horses to slowly follow behind this centurion. Along the way, many soldiers cast shocked gazes over. In the large tent of the vanguard, Captain Si Zhongmeng was in the middle of a discussion. A group of high-ranking officers with the rank of Chiliarch were divided into two sides. When Lin Muyu and Qin Yan walked in together, this Zhongmeng knew his stuff. His gaze glanced at the badge worn on Lin Muyu's chest, and he immediately cupped his fists and said, General Zhongmeng greets young general. Lin Muyu asked, You know me? Zhongmeng nodded. Yes, during the spring plowing festival. This general was fortunate enough to see the true appearance of young general. As he spoke, Zhongmeng looked at Lin Muyu with some astonishment, and then looked at Qin Yan saying, Young general, how did you end up in such a sorry state? Weren't you celebrating in Winterfrost City? Celebrating? Lin Muyu said indifferently. The Yongwei Corps was defeated, completely annihilated. What? Completely annihilated? Zhongmeng was incredibly shocked and said, What happened? Have you heard of the demon race? No. His face was blank. In reality, before this, Lin Muyu and Qin Yan had never heard of any existence like the demon race in this world. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, A group of demons descended from the sky and surrounded Winterfrost City for 19 days. We used up all of our provisions, and were completely annihilated in the end. Young Prince Qin Yan and I swam across the Rice River by a hair's breadth to survive. Zhongmeng's face was full of shock. Are those demons really that powerful? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded her head and said, The demon race can defeat a human army of 100,000 with only 10,000 armor demons, and they have more than 100,000 armor demons now, so, we can't defend this place. Where's Marquis Minulin and General Du Hai? They've all died for the country. Zhongmeng's heart was in complete turmoil. He muttered, Then what should we do? When will the demon race attack Seongnan Province? I don't know, but it should be soon. Lin Muyu walked to the commander's seat and sat down. She raised her head and said, Zhongmeng, bring me a pen and paper. Prepare a messenger bird to send to Lanyan City. I want to write a letter to Her Highness. Yes. The pen and paper were immediately prepared. Lin Muyu quickly described everything that happened in Winterfrost City in ugly handwriting. She told the capital to prepare in advance, and then put the letter into the tube. With the sound of flapping wings, the news would reach Lanyan City as soon as possible, and the head of the empire would know about the demon race. It would take at least 2 days to fly to Lanyan City, but Seongnan Province couldn't wait like this. Zhongmeng. Yes, young general. What are your orders? Zhongmeng was very respectful. Although he was the captaincy of Chihai City, he had seen Lin Muyu when Qin Jin was still alive, so he naturally knew the status of this young Grand Deacon in the empire. Give me a map. The more detailed, the better. Yes. A map was laid out in front of them. Lin Muyu looked at it carefully and frowned. There are no rivers marked on this map? This, Zhongmeng nodded. Yes, but I can draw it for you. There is a tributary of the Daojiang River between Seongnan Province and Lingdong Province. Although it isn't very wide, it is still nearly 300 meters wide. For the convenience of marching, a total of 7 bridges have been built on this tributary of the Daojiang River, allowing warhorses to gallop through. Ah. Lin Muyu asked, Where are we now? Here, east of the tributary of the Daojiang River. I see. Lin Muyu stood up and put away the map. Zhongmeng, are you willing to listen to my orders? Zhongmeng cupped his fists. Young general is the empress's sworn brother, and also the grand deacon of the empire. This subordinate is naturally willing to listen to young general's orders. Young general, please speak your mind. Yes. Lin Muyu softly said. Now immediately pass down the order for all of your men to break camp and head to the west of the tributary of the Daojiang River. Then send down the order for all of the imperial troops stationed at the bridges to dismantle all 7 bridges and requisition all of the fishing boats on both sides. Let the people move to the west side of the river. The east side of the river is no longer safe. Young General, why is this tributary of the Daojiang River so important? Zhang Ming was confused. Lin Muyu lightly said, the main force of the demon race is the armored demon corps. As far as I know, these armored demons are afraid of water and cannot swim at all. So this tributary of the Daojiang River may be able to stop their footsteps to the west. Do it immediately. If it is too late, perhaps the demon race will be able to swallow all of the Empire's territories. In addition, the armored demons eat humans. Do not have the intention to discuss conditions with the demon race. They do not treat us as equal creatures. Zhang Ming was frightened when he heard this. He nodded and said, yes, this general will do it now. In the afternoon, the army set off and headed directly to the west side. After crossing the iron chain bridge, they immediately cut the iron chain. Lin Muyu did not know how big Zhang Ming's military power was, but he could only do this much. On the surface of the tributary of the Daojiang River, fishing boats came and went and many commoners were also moving. Later on, Zhang Ming came back with a few pieces of used leather and said with a dignified expression, young general, 3 of the 7 bridges have been dismantled, but there are still 4 that do not dare to dismantle the bridges. At this time the relationship is very big, and they must obtain the approval from the 5 Valleys governor's residence before they dare to dismantle the bridges. What should be done? Is that so? Lin Muyu clenched her teeth and said, what is the military position of the people who are guarding the bridges? Colonel rank Chiliarch. That's good. Zhang Ming, you personally bring people to dismantle the bridges. I will bear any responsibility. Prepare 2 fast horses for me. I will go to the 5 Valleys city to get the approval. This matter must be done immediately, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. Yes, the subordinate understands. A little later, they brought dry rations and left on 2 fast horses. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan were burning with anxiety. Perhaps other people did not know the pros and cons, but the 2 of them could not be more clear. As long as the demon army crossed the river, how would the Empire's flatland be able to resist Lei Chang's army of 100,000 armored demons? 2 days later, 5 Valleys City. The population of 5 Valleys City had already become very sparse. After Lin Muyu and Qin Yan entered the city, they felt the desolation of this place. It was no longer as prosperous as the 7 great cities. And at this time, the culprit behind the poisoning of nearly 2 million people in 5 Valleys City had 100,000 soldiers stationed in 5 Valleys City. When Lin Muyu arrived at the governor's residence, she saw Xiang Yu. Take him down. This was the first sentence Xiang Yu said when he saw Lin Muyu. All around, a group of 7 Seas City soldiers opened their bows and pointed straight at Lin Muyu and Qin Yan. Xiang Yu held the bloodthirsty spear with a face full of smiles. Xiang Yu, what do you mean? What do I mean? Xiang Yu raised his eyebrows and said, I heard that an army of the so-called devil race appeared in Winterfrost City and annihilated the entire Yangwei Legion. Let me ask you, are people who escaped under such circumstances not considered deserters? Impudent. The fire serpent spear in Qin Yan's hand was surrounded by flames, and it looked like he was about to attack. At this time, Xiang Yu sneered, and an invisible aura pervaded the surroundings. Under the pressure of a divine domain expert, Qin Yan was actually unable to move, and the fire serpent spear in his hand couldn't move at all. Lin Muyu's gaze turned cold, and she silently circulated the 7 planets' profound energy. Suddenly, rays of starlight flickered on her body, and the prelude of the 7 planets' transformation forcefully crushed Xiang Yu's domain pressure. You still dare to attack me? The long spear in Xiang Yu's hand was vast and mighty with the power of primal chaos. He laughed loudly and said, I originally didn't want to kill you for Chu Huai's sake, but you forced me to make a move. After Xiang Yu stepped into the divine domain, he became more and more arrogant. With a sweep of his long spear, He used the seventh form of the primal chaos 9 strikes, primal chaos annihilation. The surrounding space seemed to solidify, and the power of primal chaos frantically devoured all power. Lin Muyu didn't give in either. Her right arm gently moved backward, and the power of the stellar arts in her body surged into her arm, quickly accumulating the third form of the stellar arts. 5 mountains descend from the heavens. A mass of stardust energy transformed into the mountain constellation, and it blasted straight at Xiang Yu's long spear. Bang! The two extremely powerful forces collided, and an astonishing shock wave immediately erupted. A group of archers were pushed back one after another. Xiang Yu retreated several steps, and the palm holding the bloodthirsty spear was slightly numb. He felt that the power of Lin Muyu's attack was very strange. The 5 mountains descend from the heavens. Profound energy was like rock and metal, and it poured into his arms, making him unable to move as usual. Lin Muyu was also shaken back a few steps, and a burning pain came from her arm. The wound seemed to have been torn open. However, Lin Muyu's heart was more ecstatic. The third form of the stellar arts was enough to tie with Xiang Yu. If she used the God-binding chain's martial soul, Xiang Yu would most likely be defeated by this strike. This was enough to prove that her power was already above Xiang Yu's. Even though he was a divine domain expert, he lost more than 1.5 stars in terms of heart techniques and moves. Do you want to escort me back to Lanyan City? Lin Muyu said indifferently. Then call your personal guards to rush back to Lanyan City with me. However, the demonic army will enter Songnan province soon. If you, the frontline commander, can't defend it, then bring your head to see Xiao Yin. Xiang Yu gritted his teeth. Originally, he planned to put Lin Muyu in the prison carriage and send him back to Lanyan City, but now it seemed to be a little difficult, so he could only send people to escort him back. Thus he raised his eyebrows and said, "My lord, 1,000 soldiers, escort Lin Muyu back to Lanyan City, and let Duke Lan deal with him." Yes. Escorted by 1,000 cavalrymen. This was a lineup that was flattering and flattering. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan smiled slightly, turned over and mounted their horses, and rushed in the direction of Lanyan City, eager to return. Chapter 354. 3 days later, Lanyan City was exceptionally quiet in the height of summer. The cool breeze swayed the willow trees outside the city, giving out rustling sounds. There was an endless stream of merchants and travelers outside the city. Lanyan City was different from the Five Valleys city. Even after the city was massacred, it was still very prosperous. In addition, a large number of people from Yinzhong province and Seven Seas province had migrated over, which made this imperial capital not lose its former prosperity. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan were already stopped when they entered the city wearing their armors. When the centurion on duty brought them to Zhang Wei, Zhang Wei was already stunned. "Darren, you are finally back." Zhang Wei jumped up and directly hugged Lin Muyu and laughed out loud. "Old Zhang had always been worried that you would be killed by the demon race." Lin Muyu hurriedly pushed him away and asked, "Lord Zhang Wei, have you received the letter that we sent back from Songnan province?" "And Long received it. Let's go. We will go to Zetian Hall now. It is currently the afternoon meeting time." "Good." Even though the entourage that Xiang Yu sent was filled with enmity, but as Zhang Wei was the deputy commander of the imperial army, they could not defy him and could only follow him up to the hall. Lin Muyu didn't even have time to change her blood-stained armor before she walked into the Zetian Palace Hall. There weren't many officials in the Zetian Palace Hall, but they were all important ministers who held great power. Su Muyun, Tang Lan, Xueling, Tang Lu, Tang Tian, Su Yu, and the others were all there. In addition, there was also the Minister of Revenue, and a large group of civil and military officials. Temple Great Deacon Lin Muyu requests an audience. The shouts of the officials were incessant. Little Prince Qin Yan requests an audience. Lord Zhang Wei requests an audience. On the emperor's throne, Qin Yin was wearing a long robe embroidered with golden purple flowers. She suddenly sat up and dark blue tassels hung down the side of her skirt. Her hand held onto the hilt of the purple sword as she looked into the distance. Suddenly she could not bear it and stepped down the king's steps. "Your Highness," Su Muyin coughed and said, "please maintain your dignity." Qin Yin stopped in her tracks and stood a few meters away from Lin Muyu. Her starry eyes were filled with nostalgia as she looked at him. She moved her red lips and murmured, "Big brother Yu, are you all right?" Lin Muyu took a step forward and knelt on one knee in front of Qin Yin. She said in a low voice, "Lin Muyu greets your highness. Xiao Yin, I'm fine. However, except for me and Yan, the rest of the Yangwei Legion has been annihilated." "And get up," Lin Muyu stood up. After looking around, she discovered that the atmosphere wasn't quite right. Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, and the others were looking at her with anxiety in their eyes. As for Tang Lan, Su Muyun, Tang Lu, and the others, their eyes were filled with ridicule. Min Yulin died in battle. "Isn't that right, Grand Deacon?" Tang Lu suddenly asked with a smile. "Yes. The Marquis of Wei, Min Yulin, who commanded 50,000 elite soldiers, died in battle in Winterfrost City. Why was Grand Deacon able to return to Lanyan City unscathed? Could it be that it was really as Xiang Yu's letter said? Grand Deacon fled at the last moment and abandoned the dignity of a soldier of the Empire, abandoning Min Yulin and the others?" Tang Lu's eyes were filled with ruthlessness as he asked in a low voice, "Lin Muyu, as the Grand Deacon of the Holy Temple, have you forgotten the dignity of a soldier of the Empire?" "I didn't flee at the last moment." Lin Muyu looked at him indifferently and said, "Xiang Yu is one of your people. There's no need to echo each other and pour dirty water on me. If I wanted to flee, I would have done so long ago. Why would I wait until Winterfrost City was breached?" "Is that so?" A trace of pride flashed through Tang Lu's eyes as he said, "I knew you would deny it. Fortunately, we still have a witness. Someone bring the witness to Zetian Palace Hall." Lin Muyu's gaze was grave and stern as he looked at Tang Lu calmly. He didn't know what the so-called witness was. Qin Yan, on the other hand, was incomparably furious as he gnashed his teeth. Qin Yin was somewhat displeased as she frowned slightly and said, "Marquis of North Ridge, you clearly know that Lin Muyu is my sworn brother. Why do you have to make things difficult for him?" Tang Lu cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Your Highness, this general isn't trying to make things difficult for you. This is the truth. Your Highness, just watch. The truth will come to light very soon." "Oh." The corner of Qin Yin's mouth rose as she said indifferently, "Marquis of North Ridge, if you don't have sufficient evidence to say that Lin Muyu fled at the last moment, then don't blame me for stripping you of your noble title." Tang Lu was startled. Tang Lan, who was beside him, frowned and didn't say anything. As one of the two dukes of the empire, Tang Lan held half of the empire in his hands. It was unknown when he had started to hide behind the scenes, but all the decrees were completed by Tang Lu and Tang Tian. A few minutes later, under the protection of a group of Zetian Palace Hall's warriors, a general wearing broken armor walked into the main hall. When he arrived in front of Lin Muyu and Qin Yan, Lin Muyu almost crushed his steel teeth. "Shihua?" "Lin Muyu." Shihua's face was full of anger as he said, "You didn't expect that I would be able to fight my way out of the Winter Ridge province alive, right? You're a cowardly rat who doesn't dare to cross swords with the devil race. Do you still have the face to return to Lanyan City?" As he spoke, Shihua suddenly turned around and cupped his fists toward Qin Yin, saying, "Your Highness, on the 12th of August, Winterfrost City was breached by the devil race. 100,000 armored devils besieged the Yangwei Legion. The Marquis ordered us to fight to the death, but I didn't expect that Lin Muyu would lead his troops and retreat from Winterfrost City early on. He took the opportunity when we were fighting the devil race and escaped without a trace. There are even rumors that he colluded with the leader of the devil race. Your Highness, please investigate this." "You're talking nonsense." Qin Yin's gaze was like a sharp sword. "Big brother Yu isn't that kind of person. Someone, drag Shihua away and behead him." Tang Lu hurriedly said, "Your Highness, General Shihua is reasonable and not talking nonsense." "Shihua, why don't you take out your evidence?" Shihua gnashed his teeth and looked at Lin Muyu. He took out a broken battle flag from his bosom, which had a faint Min character on it. He also untied the sword at his waist and wrapped it in the battle flag. He said, "Your Highness, before Marquis Min Yulin died in battle, he entrusted me to pass this to your Highness. In addition, the Marquis also asked me to pass on some words to your Highness." Speak. Qin Yin said indifferently. Shihua said. The Marquis said that Lin Muyu recruited soldiers without authorization and was very autocratic in the army. She had long had the intention to be a disloyal subject. Moreover, the Yangwei army's rations had always been personally planned by Lin Muyu, but they were easily attacked by the armored demons of the demon race, causing their rations to be cut off. Someone must have snitched on her. On the 30th day of the 7th month, Lin Muyu brought people out of the city to pull out the poisoned arrows from the demon race, and brought the plague into Winterfrost City, killing tens of thousands of the Empire's troops. On the 9th day of the 8th month, the tunnel that Commander Chai Hong was digging was also discovered by the demon race. The only people who knew about it were the few commanders and Lin Muyu. Someone must have snitched on her. The few commanders have already died in battle, and only Lin Muyu is still alive. Everything has proven that Lin Muyu colluded with the enemy and long ago colluded with the leader of the demon race. Your Highness, you can't tolerate him just because he's your sworn brother. Otherwise, Qin Yan was exasperated. He pointed at Shihua and shouted, You're slandering me. You beast. Slandering me. Qin Yan's gaze fell on Lin Muyu, and she said softly, Big brother you. Tell me that what he said is false. Lin Muyu's heart was filled with a myriad of emotions. It was full of bitterness, but she couldn't say it. She cupped her fists and said, Your Highness, part of what he said is true, but there's also a part that he didn't say. And big brother you speak. Lin Muyu turned to look at Shihua and said, The day before Winterfrost City was breached, Shihua and his subordinates dug up the corpses of the Empire's soldiers who died in battle and cooked them. When the Marquis was about to condemn them, Shihua betrayed the Empire. He led the 5,000 troops of Seven Seas City and opened the south gate of Winterfrost City with the intention of leaving. This directly led to the fall of Winterfrost City. Shihua's body trembled, and he pointed at her. You're slandering me. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold, and she shouted in a low voice, Shihua. Winterfrost City was surrounded on all sides. You know the battle strength of tens of thousands of armored demons, and so do I. I only managed to escape with a yen by a hair's breadth. With your ability, how could you have escaped? Moreover, you have the Marquis's sword and war flag. There's only one explanation. You surrendered to the demons and agreed to be a slave. That's why they let you go back to Lanyan City and used you as a spy to breach Lanyan City. Isn't that right? You. Shihua's face turned red, and he said angrily, Don't you try to mislead people and frame me. Behind Shihua, Tang Lu's face was also livid. He said, Lin Muyu, the truth is right in front of us. There's no room for you to quibble. You did run away at the last moment. Don't you admit it? Shihua is a brave general of our Seven Seas City, and he has always been at the forefront of the army. He won't lie. I can guarantee it with my life. Then your life is too worthless, Yi Zichen said coldly. Lin Muyu sneered as she looked at Tang Lu. Suddenly, she pulled out the dragon spirit sword from her waist. With a poochie sound, the sword's blade pierced through Shihua's back, piercing his heart. Oh my god! Everyone was shocked. No one expected that Lin Muyu would suddenly kill Shihua. Lin Muyu. Tang Lu looked at the fallen Shihua, and his face turned pale. You're crazy. You're a lunatic. You actually dare to kill someone in Zetian Palace Hall. Do you still have Her Highness in your eyes? You. Big brother you. Qinin also looked at him in confusion. Clang. The dragon spirit sword suddenly pierced into the jade bricks in front of the palace hall. Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at Qinin, who was on the king's step, and murmured, Xiaoyin, the invasion of the devil race is imminent. Once they cross the Dao River, they will be able to sweep across the Qin Empire and destroy it. This empire will soon cease to exist. I don't want to waste a single second arguing with these sycophants. If Shihua was really that brave, he wouldn't have been killed by me. Time will prove everything. I will accept any punishment, but we must quickly send reinforcements to Five Valleys City and Divine Shadow City, and set up defenses along the tributary of the Dao River. Otherwise, once the devil race crosses the river, it will be too late to say anything. Feng Jixing murmured. You are the devil race really that powerful? Yes. Lin Muyu lightly nodded and said, Big brother Feng, once we face the devil race, we must be careful. They have at least 100,000 armor demons. The battle strength of an armor demon is equivalent to 20 elite soldiers of the Empire. What? Feng Jixing turned pale with fright. Chapter 355. Men. Tang Lan's gaze was cold as he said indifferently, Lin Muyu assaulted and killed an important official in front of the palace. He deserves the death penalty. Remove his chief deacon badge and throw him into the death cell. He will be executed tomorrow at noon. Qin Yin hurriedly said, Duke Lan, I am the emperor. I have to make the decision on this matter. Tang Lan cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, no matter how close Lin Muyu is to you, and no matter what kind of person Lin Muyu is, he publicly killed someone in Zetian Palace. This is enough to prove his disloyalty. I hope your Highness can handle this matter impartially. Don't let the officials here be bitterly disappointed. Although the empire belongs to the Qin family, it was exchanged with your lives. In an instant, Tang Lu, Tang Tian, and the other important officials all knelt down. Your Highness, please execute Lin Muyu. You guys. Qin Yin bit her red lips and looked helplessly at Su Muyun. However, Su Muyun only nodded and stood in place without saying a word. At this moment, Feng Jixing and Wei Chou knelt down together. Feng Jixing said, Your Highness, although Lin Muyu killed Shi Hua in my opinion, Shi Hua is indeed a very evil person. He dared to open the gate of Winterfrost City without permission, and defected to the enemy. It is not wrong for you to kill him. Please, Your Highness, pardon Yu's crime. Qin Yin knelt down and said, Cousin, Big Brother made great contributions in the Battle of Winterfrost City. He killed hundreds of armored demons alone. No one can compare to this kind of contribution. We can't kill a meritorious official. Oh right. The Marquis gave Big Brother a token before the final battle, and asked him to bring it to your Highness. Qin Yin was delighted. Big Brother Yu, what is it? Lin Muyu took out Min Yulin's cloth from her Qianquan bag, and handed it to Qin Yin. Qin Yin unfolded it and saw the words, I will not let you down, written in blood. Tears welled up in Qin Yin's eyes as she said, Marquis Wei dying in Winterfrost City is such a pity. Tang Lan knelt on the ground and cupped his fists. Your Highness, please punish Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu also knelt on one knee and said in a low voice, I beseech Xiao Yin to immediately send reinforcements to the Daojiang branch to resist the demon army. Suddenly, someone in the crowd burst into laughter. His laughter was incomparably arrogant. Everyone looked over, and saw that it was a man wearing a general's robe with 3 golden hexagrams on his shoulders. He had the rank of general, and his eyes were extremely cold. Marquis of the Tranquil Sea Yao Yuan, what are you laughing at? Su Muyan asked calmly. Yao Yuan was still laughing heartily, and tears were about to fall from his eyes. Duke Yin, oh Duke Yin, don't you see? In the main hall, one of them requested to be killed, while the other requested your Highness to send reinforcements to the border. Isn't it obvious who is a sycophant, and who is a loyal subject? Yao Yuan. Tang Lan looked back with a cold gaze. Are you saying I'm a sycophant? I wouldn't dare. Yao Yuan cupped his fists and said with a smile. Duke Lan has saved the nation, so how could this general dare to call you a sycophant? However, does Lin Muyu have a reason to defect to the enemy? I really can't think of one. Tang Lan snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Qin Yin said gently, Duke Lan, you see, there is no absolute evidence to prove that Brother Yu colluded with the enemy. Moreover, Shi Hua has already been killed, and Brother Yu is Imperial Father's adopted son. Is his life not worth a captaincy? Your Highness's words are not reasonable. Tang Lan said. Not to mention the fact that Shi Hua is a captaincy. Even if he is just an ordinary soldier, no one can easily take his life as long as he has shed blood and sweat for the empire. Although Lin Muyu is the former emperor's adopted son, he is still only an adopted son. He is not a member of the Qin family. What did you say? Qin Yan said angrily. Big Brother has risked his life for the empire, and is also the former emperor's adopted son. What right do you have to say that he is not a member of the Qin family? Tang Lan looked on coldly and didn't say anything. Behind her, Tang Lu laughed coldly and said, So what if he is an adopted son? Lin Muyu has no blood connection with His Majesty, nor does he have any blood connection with Her Highness the Empress. What right do you have to say that he is a member of the Qin family? Since he is not a member of the Qin family, there is no reason to pardon any of his crimes. Qin Yin bit her red lips. You are disobeying my edict like this. Does this count as rebellion? As long as I still stand on this throne, I am the ruler of Great Qin. Tanglan, you are one of the two dukes. Why do you keep bumping into the emperor without knowing it? Tanglan was startled. He had never thought that Qin Yin would speak like this. He hurriedly knelt down, and all the officials in the hall knelt down as well. At this time, Lin Muyu looked coldly at Tanglan, Tanglu, and the others, saying, "What are you trying to do? Do you just want to kill me? Or after I prove my bloodline, will you stop bothering me? Do you know that the citizens of the empire in Lingdong province are being slaughtered by the demon race? What are you trying to do?" Anger rose continuously from the bottom of his heart. The battle chi around him revolved rapidly, forcing the people around him to retreat. A golden light broke out from the ground. It wasn't a golden gourd, but a resplendent golden god-binding chain. It floated in the air, and a second god-binding chain appeared around Lin Muyu. Soon, 8 shimmering golden god-binding chains surrounded Lin Muyu, full of dignity. Battle chi surged out in all directions, making it almost impossible to open one's eyes. God-binding chain. Tanglan's heart instantly went cold. Feng Jixing's eyes also widened. God-binding chain. How can you have God-binding chain? Su Muyun's brows furrowed. God-binding chain. That is the exclusive martial spirit of the Qin bloodline. Lin Muyu looked at everyone with a burning gaze. After a low shout, the God-binding chain martial spirit completely dissipated into his body. He said indifferently, "Do you see? Do I count as a member of the Qin clan?" He raised his hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. His eyes were filled with disappointment as he looked at everyone and said, "If you want to kill me, if you want to seize power, go ahead. But don't bully me too much. Otherwise, don't blame me for doing something crazy. Tanglan Sumuyun. Don't think that I don't dare to kill you. Let me tell you, don't force me anymore. Otherwise, even if you have thousands of soldiers protecting you, I will still chop off your heads as a sacrifice to those who died in vain." As he spoke, he walked out of the Zetian palace. Outside, the sky had turned dark. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. A storm was about to descend. Tanglan and Su Muyin stood there dumbstruck. No one would have thought that Lin Muyu would say so many treasonous words. Large raindrops fell on his body like pearls. Lin Muyu walked quickly on the main road of the Zetian palace. He felt as if his heart was being torn apart by thousands of swords. He didn't understand what was wrong with the people of the world. What were they pursuing? In front of him, a short tree was swaying crazily in the wind and rain under the walls of the Zetian palace. It seemed as if it would be uprooted at any time. Lin Muyu slowly sat down under the wall and let the rain fall on his body. He hugged his legs as he sat there. Suddenly, he started sobbing. He didn't know how much time had passed. The sound of the rain didn't stop, but it didn't fall on his body. "Big brother, you." Qin Yin held up the small green umbrella to shield him from the wind and rain. She slowly lowered her body and stretched out her arms to hug him. Lin Muyu raised his head as if he was startled. "Xiao Yin, it's okay, it's okay." Qin Yin hugged him tightly. Tears flowed from her eyes as she said, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault that I'm so useless. It's all my fault that Xiao Yin can't control government affairs. It's all my fault that you've tasted all the injustice. Xiao Yin, it's okay." Lin Muyu knelt down and held Qin Yin in his arms. He took the umbrella from her hands and saw that Qin Yin's elegant dark blue dress was dragged in the mud. The rain was too heavy. Even with an umbrella, she was drenched. In the distance, palace maids and guards were standing guard. Qin Yin probably didn't allow them to get close. They couldn't see what was happening in the rain. Qin Yin nestled in his arms and spoke intermittently. "After you went to Lingdong, I missed you every day. I was worried that you would be in danger. I was worried that you wouldn't be able to eat well and wear warm clothes. Grandfather and Duke Lon pressured me step by step. They took away all government and military power, making me a puppet. I missed you. Ever since you left, I've been flustered. You know that Xiaoyin loves you so much. Qin Yin's soft arms wrapped around Lin Muyu's neck. Her beautiful face moved closer to him, and her red lips gently pressed against Lin Muyu's. This kiss was like a dream, at least for Lin Muyu. When Qin Yin's lips left his, a sense of loss filled his heart. Qin Yin looked at his expression and suddenly smiled. She moved closer again and kissed his lips for the second time. This time, even Qin Yin blushed and felt her body heat up. It was as if she wanted to melt into Lin Muyu's body. Hearing her rapid breathing, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. When did Xiaoyin become so proactive? Qin Yin's face turned even redder. She lightly punched his chest and said, "It's all to comfort you." Sitting in the rain with Qin Yin in his arms, Lin Muyu felt that this rain was far more wonderful than the one in Winterfrost City. There was only happiness and nostalgia in this rain, while there was only death and fear in that rain. Perhaps this was a kind of praise for his escape. Xiaoyin, the demons are really strong. Their 100,000 soldiers are enough to defeat all the armies of the empire. We must be prepared in advance. Otherwise, the other 6 provinces in North Ridge will be wiped out in a moment. I know. Qin Yin was still hugging him and smiled sweetly at him. General Feng told me to build 7 forts on the west bank of the Daojiang River, one every 50 kilometers. We'll amass a large number of soldiers to defend against the demons' invasion, while also protecting each other. This way, it won't be so easy for the demons to encroach on the Empire's territory. Yes. Big Brother Yu understands the demons better than any of us, so I've decided to go against the majority's opinion and make Big Brother Yu a high-ranking general in the Empire's military system. What does Big Brother Yu think? Lin Muyu's gaze was firm. I won't retreat when Xiaoyin needs me. How about this? You only need to give me a military rank. As for the troops, I'll build them myself. I believe that Duke Lon and Duke Yun won't be willing to let me command their troops. Qin Yin was overjoyed. Big Brother Yu is the best. Right at this moment, a man slowly walked over with an umbrella in his hand. His battle robe fluttered along with the strong wind. The corner of his mouth curled up as he said with a smile, I say, the two of you, everyone is watching. Your Highness, bring Ayu back to the side hall of Zhe Heavenly Palace. Duke Yun has agreed to dispatch troops from Yunzhong province to resist the devil race. Yes, that's great. Chapter 356. Zetian Hall, Side Hall. A hand-drawn map was spread out on the table, and there were a few people standing around the table. Qin Yin, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, Su Muyun, Tang Lan and Tang Xiaoxi. Tang Xiaoxi had just rushed over from the Duke's mansion, and after knowing what happened, she felt extremely distressed. Feng Jixing placed his hand on the map and said, From the northern border of Yunzhong province to the Qinling Mountains, there is a total of 1,400 li, 700 li of which are insurmountable cliffs, and the other 700 li are the tributaries of the Daojiang River. This river runs through the central part of the empire, and is enough to stop the demon race's advance. Fortunately, you ordered the destruction of all the bridges, otherwise, the consequences would be hard to imagine. Qin Yin said. General Feng, please continue. Feng Jixing nodded and continued. Even though according to you, the demon race is not good at swimming, but it is hard to be sure that they will not use the fishing boats on the east bank to cross the Daojiang River. So I suggest building a city on the west bank of the Daojiang River, and building 7 forts. 1 fort for every 100 li and a camp for every 10 li. There must be cavalry patrolling every li to monitor the demon race's every move. Su Muyin frowned. Are there any letters from Lingdong province and Tongtian province? No. Feng Jixing shook his head. The 2 eastern provinces have completely fallen into the hands of the demon race. The imperial army there should have been completely annihilated, so there is no need to hope for any news from there. Su Muyin took a deep breath and said, Ayu has been recruiting soldiers in Muyu City for the past 6 months. We can mobilize about 150,000 soldiers to guard the forts. Are we still lacking? Feng Jixing replied. Yes, each fortress has at least 30,000 to 50,000 soldiers. That's close to 300,000 soldiers. The main force of the Imperial Guards has to stay in the Imperial capital. So, Duke Lan, how many soldiers can you send? Tang Lan was startled and said, Xiangyu has 100,000 soldiers in Songnan province. They can go and guard the Daojiang River. That's good. We're still missing one. Use Temple Camp and Longdan Army Camp can be filled. At the side, Qinin said, Grandfather Duke Lan, I plan to use Big Brother Yu again. I hope that you won't object. I believe that all of you have seen Big Brother Yu's ability to lead troops. I will promote Big Brother Yu to rank 3 Country Protector General and appoint him as the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. Wei Chou and Qin Yan will be the deputy commanders. Furthermore, in order to resist the invasion of the demon race, the Longdan Army Camp can expand its army without an upper limit. Su Muyin took a deep look at Qin Yin and said, If Xiao Yin feels that she has the ability to mobilize the Longdan Army Camp, then expand the army. Grandfather will not oppose it anymore. Tang Lan bowed her head and said, Your Highness, no army in the empire can expand without an upper limit. Otherwise, the world will be in chaos. I suggest that the Longdan Army Camp and the Temple Camp should have a maximum of 50,000 soldiers. All right, we will listen to Duke Lan's suggestion. Qinin nodded her head, turned around and said, Come, announce that Lin Muyu will be promoted to Country Protector General and reappointed as the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. Longdan Army Camp will be included in the 3rd Army of the Empire, and will be allowed to expand by 50,000 soldiers. In addition, summon the Navy Commander, Beili Tsang. Yes. A few minutes later, a general walked into the side hall. He was about 40 years old, and had a weather-beaten face. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, The Navy Commander, Beili Tsang, pays his respects to the Empress. Qinin nodded and said, Okay, listen to the orders from the side. Yes. Tang Lan raised his head and glanced at Su Muyun, then at Qin Yin and Lin Muyu. Your Highness, the demon race is invading on a large scale. Who does Your Highness intend to give the important task of defending against the demon race to? Qinin smiled and said, Who is Duke Lan going to appoint? Xiangyu is skilled in both the pen and the sword. He is loyal and decisive. I suggest Xiangyu to be the commander of the Daojiang River coast. Xiangyu. The corner of Qin Yin's mouth curled up as she said, Great General Xiangyu is certainly brave, but the opponent this time is the demon race, not the Iha Kingdom. Although Xiangyu is fierce, he lacks flexibility. In my opinion, Commander Feng Jixing should take on the heavy responsibility of defending against the demon race. Tang Lan said, Feng Jixing is still young and I'm afraid he can't be the commander of the 3 armies. I hope Your Highness can be prudent. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and said, Then don't make him a commander. I will only appoint Feng Jixing as the highest commander of the Daojiang River coast. What does Duke Lan think? I will solemnly obey Your Highness' order. Tang Lan's demeanor was very respectful, but it was this respectful sentence that dissolved the next step in Qin Yin's plan, to be made a commander. There was only one marshal in the empire. Once Feng Jixing was conferred the title of marshal by the Empress, he would have a supreme position in the empire. As long as he wanted to, the military power of the empire would slowly shift from the hands of Tang Lan and Su Muyun. However, Qin Yin was not disappointed. At the very least, she had managed to obtain the position of commander-in-chief of the frontline army. Feng Jiren was a cautious and resourceful person. He would definitely be more appropriate than Xiangyu when facing the devil race. That's good. Qin Yin's pair of bright eyes looked at everyone and said, This time, no one is to be negligent in resisting the demons. Those who disobey will be executed. Feng Jixing will be the frontline commander, and will command the entire army. General Beili Tsang, you are the commander of the navy. This time, you must listen to General Feng's orders. Yes. Beili Tsang cupped his fists and said, The navy's 150 warships and 30,000 soldiers will listen to General Feng's orders. Good. Qin Yin nodded and said, Appoint a commander for each of the 7 strongholds of the Daojiang River tributary. Immediately draft a list and pass it to me. Among them, Lin Muyu will lead the Longdan army camp to guard one of the strongholds. Is there any problem? Tang Lan and Su Muyan cupped their fists together and said, yes. Lin Muyu also nodded respectfully and said, yes. Then make the preparations. Immediately transport the craftsmen and materials to Tsangnan province. 3 days later, the army will set out. Whether we can defeat the demons on the Daojiang River depends on everyone. Yes, Your Highness, please rest assured. As for Feng Jixing, Qinin, and the others who asked about the god-binding shackles, Lin Muyu could only vaguely answer. He said that the god-binding shackles had inadvertently comprehended the god-binding shackles. Perhaps it was an accident of fate. As for the bloodline, he did not know. Not long after, the Minister of War handed the seal of the Protector of the State back to Lin Muyu. At the same time, he also put on the commander's insignia. The 3 golden stars were particularly dazzling. Qin Yin asked Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi to have dinner together in the evening. The imperial family's meals were simple, so they only had a pot of stewed meat and a few side dishes for dinner. Tang Xiaoxi looked at Lin Muyu with watery eyes and said, Mu went to Lingdong for 2 months. This time, I don't know how long it will take to go to Tsangnan province to guard the border. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, Xiaoxi, don't worry. Perhaps it will be very soon. Qin Yin's beautiful eyes were full of nostalgia as she looked at Lin Muyu. She asked softly, do you think we will win? Yes. Lin Muyu said with a resolute gaze. Although the demon race is very strong, as long as we avoid fighting on the plains and fight them in water or city defense, which the demon race is not good at, we can win. Why is brother you so sure? Qin Yin asked again. Lin Muyu smiled. Because the demon race's weapons are very clumsy. Some are even bronze weapons. Compared to the Empire's blacksmithing skills, they are like 3-year-old children. This means that although the demon race is strong, they do not have advanced craftsmanship, nor do they have skilled craftsmen. From this, we can infer that the demon race does not know how to build ships or siege weapons. This is our greatest advantage, but he revealed a worried expression. But what? Qin Yin looked at him with a gloomy expression. Lin Muyu's heart sank as she said, but not all of the demon race are as stupid as the armored demons. There are also smart ones. Otherwise, Winter Frost City would not have been broken through so easily. What I'm most worried about is that the demon race will come all the way from Winter Ridge Province and Sky Reaching Province. They may enslave human craftsmen to build things for them. Therefore, it's better to set up the defense on the tributary of Rice River as soon as possible. We don't have much time, and our advantage is not permanent. So that's it. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and suddenly smiled. She picked up a piece of meat for Lin Muyu and said, Brother, you eat more. Yes. At this time, Tang Xiaoxi looked at Lin Muyu with a gloomy expression. Mu, I heard that after Winter Frost City ran out of food for more than 10 days, you have eaten all the edible things in the city. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Tree bark, grass roots, rats, snakes. I've tasted almost all of these wild things in Winter Frost City. Woo-woo. The 2 beauties frowned at the same time. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She thought that they should stay away from the war, but the most ruthless thing about war was that it didn't discriminate. When the war came, no one could avoid it. After dinner, Tang Xiaoxi promised to transfer 20,000 soldiers from the demon suppressing pass to Lin Muyu. She also gave the Longdan army camp 5,000 high-quality warhorses. In this way, the Holy Temple camp would have 15,000 soldiers. With the addition of the 1,000 from the Longdan army camp and the people Tang Xiaoxi gave, they would have 36,000 soldiers. Guarding a fortress should not be a problem. When night fell, Tang Xiaoxi came to the Holy Temple with a white warhorse. Princess, she is here. Guyang greeted with a smile. Needless to say, you must be here to see the Grand Deacon, right? Yes, Brother Guyang, where is Mu? In the inner hall, I'll bring you there. All right. Under the flickering candlelight, Lin Muyu was discussing with Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the others about the details of the deployment. When she raised her head, she saw Tang Xiaoxi coming in with a warhorse. She couldn't help but smile. Xiaoxi, why are you here so late at night? Are you here to have supper with me? Girls shouldn't eat too much supper, it will make them fat. Tang Xiaoxi pouted and smiled. But I'm here to give you a precious horse. Look, what do you think of this horse? Lin Muyu looked over. This horse seemed to be in the form of a small horse. It was slightly immature, but it was very strong. Its entire body was covered with pure white fur, but there was a circle of black fur above its 4 hooves. It looked very beautiful. This horse is called Treading Snow. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, Guess who is her father? It can't be Brother Feng, right? Lin Muyu said with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi also sniggered. General Feng can't give birth to such a good breed. Her father is Jedi, the fast horse that died in battle. Actually, before Jedi died in battle, my Shueli was already pregnant and gave birth to this Treading Snow. Its name was named by Xiao Yin, so this Treading Snow is equivalent to a gift from me and Xiao Yin to you. Do you like it? I like it. Lin Muyu stretched out her hand and caressed the warhorse's head. Suddenly, there was a connection. Everything in the world was so magical. But this Treading Snow seemed to be able to sense that Lin Muyu was once her father's master and immediately became happy. Chapter 357. Amidst a forest in the south of the Qinling Mountains, there were mountain ranges that were enshrouded in mist, and it was like a fairyland. Between the lofty mountains, there were numerous roads that crossed from the north to the south, and between the perilous peaks was a fertile plain where numerous cities were situated. Among them, the most magnificent and prosperous one was extremely prosperous, and it formed a fairyland scene. It was the capital of the Iha country, Hundred Ridge City. In the main hall, there was a long table covered with calligraphy and paintings. Qin Yi was waving his brush. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. When a maid was about to wipe the sweat off with a handkerchief, Qin Yi suddenly said coldly, Don't touch me when I'm writing. Spare me, Commander. I know I'm wrong. I won't do it again. You can leave. Yes. The maid was so scared that her face turned pale. She retreated out of the main hall. A few minutes later, a general came in. After stepping into the hall, he cupped his hands and said respectfully, Commander, Long Qianlin is here. It's General Long. Come here. Yes. Long Qianlin came to Qin Yi's side with his hand on the hilt of his sword. He said with a smile, Commander, your writing is getting stronger and stronger. Good writing, good writing. Qin Yi looked up at him and said with a smile, What's the use of good writing? Can you control the country? Qin Jin's writing is the best in the world. But he still lost half of the country easily. Commander, you're right. How's the situation in Qinling Mountains? Qin Yi asked. Long Qianlin said, Several camps we set up in the north of Qinling Mountains have been conquered by the demon tribe. We've lost about 30,000 people. Therefore, I've retreated most of the troops to Qinling Mountains to resist the demon tribe. I believe the demon tribe won't be able to cross Qinling Mountains in a short time. Don't underestimate the demon tribe. Qin Yi put the used brush into the pool and washed it gently. He said thoughtfully, Marquis Minulin, a famous general of this generation, used to dominate the northern desert. Today he and his 100,000 troops were annihilated in Winterfrost City. It's said that the armored demon corps of the demon tribe can fight against 10 demons. Is that true? Qianlin, you should have seen the demon tribe, right? I only saw it from afar. Long Qianlin frowned and said, But it's true that human soldiers can't fight against the demons head-on. I saw with my own eyes that the armored demons split our volunteer soldiers into 2 halves together with their shields. Moreover, the armored demons are covered in hard armor that can't be penetrated by swords and sabers. It's hard to kill them unless a sharp blade pierces their eyes and mouths. Any news from Heavenspan Province? Is there any news from Count Changming? No. Long Qianlin said apologetically. It's said that the demons came from the depths of the mountain range in Sky-Piercing Province. They killed anyone they met along the way. Count Changming, who was stationed in Sky-Piercing City, is most likely dead. Sigh. Qin Yi sighed with a pale face and said, I originally thought that I could unify the world by relying on the power of an immortal venerable, but I didn't expect that Tang Lan and Su Muyun, these 2 old fellows, would hide their strength and bide their time. They used Lanyan City to exhaust our morale before dealing us a heavy blow. I didn't expect that the 2 provinces that we painstakingly seized from the Empire would fall into the hands of the demon race that came from nowhere. Long Qianlin said calmly. Chief, the demon tribe is coming with great momentum. They seem to want to exterminate the human race. I think our biggest enemy is not the Empire, but the demon tribe. Do you also think we should ally with the Empire? Qini looked at Long Qianlin with pride. Long Qianlin hurriedly bowed his head and cupped his hands, saying, I dare not. How's the progress of the steel wall? It's 40% completed. It's not enough to resist the demon tribe for now. But in 3 months, I believe the steel wall will be enough to make us invincible. But what? However, Commander, there are 97 cities of different sizes in Iha country to the north of the steel protective wall. If we really withdraw our troops to the south of the steel protective wall, I'm afraid that these cities will be handed over to demons. Commander, they are all the people of Iha country. Those who achieve great things don't bother about trifles. Qini looked deeply at Long Qianlin and said, General Long, don't forget that you're one of the Empire's commanders. You're the only one I can rely on now. You'll be fully responsible for the defense of Iha country against the demon tribe. Don't let me down. We can still take back the cities we lost in the Qinling Mountains. But once the steel wall is broken, I'm afraid Lingnan will soon become the demon tribe's territory. Yes, I will do my best. Good go. Yes. Long Qianlin turned and left. As for Qin Yi, he looked at his back with a strange look in his eyes. Suddenly he sighed with emotion and said, Imperial brother, I really regret it. If you were alive, I wouldn't have to resist the devil race alone. Qin Yin, that little girl, is probably panicking and doesn't know how to deal with the invasion of the demon tribe. Lanyan City Zetian Palace. Officials stood in great numbers. Qin Yin, dressed in a princess robe, stood in front of the throne. Her beautiful eyes looked at everyone with dignity. She handed over the golden edict in her hand and said, Come read the edict. Yes. Su Muiyun walked forward, trembling, and took the edict from his granddaughter. After unfolding it, he said in a clear voice, The invasion of the demon tribe is imminent, and the fate of the empire is at stake for thousands of years. Qin Yin, in the name of the Empress, has mobilized the 3 armies. She has set up 7 armies at the tributary of the Daojiang River to the east of the 5 Valleys city to resist the invasion. The first army has 50,000 people, and will be led by the commander-in-chief Feng Jixing. The second army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Su Yu. The third army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Xiang Yu. The fourth army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Lin Muyu. The fifth army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Su Tao. The sixth army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Marquis of the Tranquil Sea, Yao Yuan. The seventh army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Marquis of the North Ridge, Tang Lu, and Marquis of the West Ridge, Tang Tian. The Minister of War, Xue Ling, will be responsible for the supply of food and weapons. The Great Deacon of the Spiritual Medicine Department, Chu Yao, will be responsible for the supply of medicine. The Empress Qin Yin will be moving to the 5 Valleys city to supervise the battle. Everyone knelt on the ground. Wei Chou was right beside Lin Muyu. He smiled faintly and said, I can finally kill the enemy together with the commander again. Qin Yin smiled. Lord Wei Chou, you still can't change your words. Big Brother isn't a commander right now. He's a commander, the commander of over 10,000 troops in the Longdan army camp. Got it. I'll slowly change. Lin Muyu turned around to look at the 2 of them and said, You guys lower your voices. Silence. Yes, Lord Commander. Have the troops from the Kingdom Guarding Army arrived yet? They arrived this morning. Lord Wei Chou and I have already gathered the troops. A full 20,000, not one more and not one less. Big Sister Xiaoxi didn't give them to the wrong people, Qin Yan said with a smile. Lin Muyu nodded in satisfaction and asked again. Wei Chou, His Highness chose another 13,000 people from Muyu City's new recruits to make up an army of 50,000 for us. Are these troops counted? They're all here. Wei Chou smiled and said, Don't worry, Commander. Even though these people are all new recruits, They've already trained for 3 months. As long as they aren't scared out of their wits, they should still be able to kill the enemy. That's good. Lin Muyu frowned and said, our 4th Army's defensive position just happens to be adjacent to Big Brother Fang's 1st Army. Once the fiends attack, it will be one of the biggest casualties, so we must be careful. Yes. After the imperial edict was read out, everyone went to make their own preparations. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu brought Wei Chou, Qin Yan and Feng Shi, the 3 generals, and slowly left Zetian Palace Hall while chatting about the matter of military supplies. How many arrows do we have? 200,000. Qin Yan said. The Department of War has allocated 200,000 arrows to each army. That's all we have. Far from enough. Lin Muyu frowned and said, does our Longdan army camp still have arrows in storage? Yes. Wei Chou said, there are still over 100,000 arrows on Dragon Rocky Mountain. In addition, there are about 80,000 white diamond arrows. Madam, can the white diamond arrows penetrate the carapace of the fiends? Yes, but 80,000 is far from enough. Lin Muyu frowned and said, you guys go and attack everything the 4th Army needs first. I'll think of a way. Yes. The army camp was outside Lanyan City. The 3 generals spurred their horses and left. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu gently stroked Taksha's snow-white mane and lightly spurred her straight in the direction of the Purple Flower Merchant Guild. On Skyspan Street, the various merchant guilds gradually regained their former prosperity. There was an endless stream of people coming and going. Smoke lingered above the ironware shops, and the clanking sounds rang out incessantly. When war came, the ironware shop's business couldn't be better. Some imperial officers wanted more convenient weapons, and some rangers and mercenaries also wanted to have their own weapons. All of these things had to be done in the ironware shops. Lin Muyu urged her horse forward slowly. She looked around and discovered that the signboards of the ironware shops outside the Purple Flower Merchant Guild had been changed to Purple Flower Weapon Shop. It seemed like Jean Xiaodang was indeed a talent. She had started off with just 3 million Jining dollars, and had already continuously swallowed up the surrounding industries. Once the Merchant Guild formed a complete industrial chain, it would be equivalent to a commercial empire. Right now, Lin Muyu needed a commercial empire to support her 50,000 troops of the 4th Army. She couldn't completely rely on the imperial military for weapons, war horses, rations and so on. After all, Xueling was Tanglan's subordinate. It would be fine if he supplied rations and weapons on time, but if he didn't, she would have to rely on herself. An employee of the Temple of Light recognized Lin Muyu long ago and hurriedly went forward and said respectfully, "Great Deacon, you're here." "Yes." Lin Muyu handed the warhorse to a servant and said, "Take me to see Xiaodang." "Yes." The two of them passed through the rows of herb shops, spirit stone shops, and weapon shops. When they reached the back hall, they heard Jin Xiaotang's voice from afar. "Shopkeeper Luo, not only is your shield not sturdy, it's also not durable enough. Our staff used your shield to do experiments and almost got shot to death. If you really want to join the Purple Flower Merchant Guild, it's not a problem, but we will take 30% of your profits. If you agree, then sign here. If not, then go to another merchant guild. However, since we are friends, I have to tell you that the dragon-seeking merchant guild will take at least 50% of your profits. Also, your daughter is so beautiful, maybe." Shopkeeper Luo's body trembled. "Deal, Miss Xiaodang." "Hehe, that's right. The arm can't twist the thigh, but you have to be stubborn with me. What a waste of time. This lady's time is very precious. I have to settle accounts, build relationships, and even go on dates." Shopkeeper Luo was speechless. Chapter 358. Xiaodang. Lin Muyu stepped in. "Brother Yu." Jin Xiaodang was overjoyed. She threw herself into Lin Muyu's arms and acted like a spoiled little sister. "You said that you would eat beef noodles with me this time. Humph, you haven't fulfilled your promise yet. Now you're going to war again." "I'm busy." Lin Muyu chuckled. "How's the business of the Chamber of Commerce?" "Everything is good." "Oh, there must be something you want me to do for you." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "This time, I have 50,000 subordinates and there is a serious shortage of arrows. So you need to help me forge a large number of arrows. Is there a problem? No problem. Jean Shouting blinked her eyes and smiled proudly. Our Purple Flower Chamber of Commerce has a total of 10 ironware shops. If we stop working for 3 days and focus on forging arrows, we should be able to give you around 200,000 arrows. That's great. Lin Muyu smiled happily. Also, we need other weapons. In short, we need to use all the funds of the Chamber of Commerce to supply ironware shops. Also, has the rice shop been opened? It has been opened for a long time. Brother Yu, do you need Shouting to prepare provisions for you? Yes, it's good if we can. I'm worried that Jean Shouting was smart. She smiled and said, I know. Brother has always been unpopular in the court. You have to rely on yourself for many things. But don't worry, you still have me. Apart from hiring manpower, it's nothing. Lanyan City has a lot of people. Don't worry, I'll handle everything. Yes. At night, Lin Muyu invited the two beauties Jean Shouting and Chu Yao to a meal. This could be considered a gathering before the expedition. Although Chu Yao, as the chief deacon of the spiritual medicine department, was responsible for the medicines needed for the war, it was not easy to see her. Moreover, if the demons truly crossed the river to fight, Lin Muyu would also be very busy. The next day, the army set out. Early in the morning, mist lingered in the forest. Lin Muyu rode treading snow as she slowly followed the fourth corps. At the same time, she appointed 5 captaincy: Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Feng Shi, Tang Ren, and Zhang Feng. Tang Ren was Tang Zhen's cousin and Zhang Feng was a new captaincy from Sunset Rain City. Qin Yan hung the fire serpent spear on the back of the horse, unfurled a map and looked at it, saying, according to our marching speed, it will take at least half a month to reach Maple Forest Ferry. Big brother, isn't it too late? Lin Muyu nodded. It's true that we're a bit late, but our fourth corps has 50,000 people, and nearly 40,000 of them are heavy cavalry. It doesn't matter, if there's a battle at Maple Forest Crossing, we'll be able to rush over at any time. Don't worry, the Imperial Navy has already arrived at Daojiang River. With them here, the demons won't be able to cross. Yes. Lin Muyu looked around her. Everyone within a radius of a few miles was the 4th Army Corps, and she was the supreme commander of this army. She couldn't help but feel proud. She didn't have much military power in the Battle of Winterfrost City, but this time she was in charge. It was time to deal with the Nephilim army and show them the power of the human army. 9 days later, the army passed by Five Valleys City. On both sides of the official road, there were actually countless commoners of the Five Valleys City sending them off. Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and the others couldn't help but smile. Who said that the Imperial Army was unpopular? At this time, the Imperial Army was heading to the front lines, but they were actually receiving such love and respect from the commoners. For a moment, the commoners on the roadside were delivering water, sweet potatoes, dry rations, eggs, and so on to the soldiers. Lin Muyu felt her scalp go numb as she watched. She suddenly felt like she was watching the Red Army going to war. Actually, the people were the most practical. If you fought for the people would naturally support you. If you fought for your own status, what did it have to do with the people? In addition to the people, there was also a group of soldiers from Five Valleys City. They escorted rations and weapons and waited here to supply the army passing by. In the distance, a man rode over and said, "Where is Commander Lin of the 4th Corps?" Lin Muyu quickly rode out and said, "I'm here. Who are you?" He was wearing the rank of captaincy. He cupped his hands respectfully and said, "I'm Zhang Bao, the general of the garrison of Five Valleys City, waiting here for the 4th Corps. We have been waiting here since last night. Here, Commander, please take a look. These are the supplies prepared by Five Valleys City for the 4th Corps. There are 2,000 steel swords, 10,000 spears, 5,000 shields, 40,000 arrows, and 2,000 carriages of rations. I hope you don't think it's too little. Five Valleys City can only provide so much." "Well, thank you very much. You've worked hard." Lin Muyu gave him a very standard imperial military salute. He looked handsome, plus he was wearing a commander's armor, carrying a sword, and riding a treading in snow warhorse. For a time, A group of girls from Five Valleys City ran over, and their faces were full of infatuation. Wow, that commander is so handsome. Who is he? He seems to be one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan conferred by the former emperor. Yes, this is the 4th corps. He is Lin Muyu, who is ranked 2nd in the 4 heroes of Lanyan. He is even more handsome than Commander Feng Jixing. Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Would Feng Jixing go berserk after hearing this? As a result, the girls' crowding and praising also caused a lot of complaints, especially from the garrison of Five Valleys City. They could have gone to the front line to fight against the demons, but the Empress didn't call for them. Therefore, they could only be responsible for the transportation of rations. Why can only the Imperial Army go to the front line? Do the people of Five Valleys City deserve to work with grains and straws all day long? Yes, why can only they go to fight against the demons and why can't we? Yes, they don't have an extra eye or an extra leg than me. Why can't I, Zhao Ritian, be the first to disagree? Wei Chou immediately rushed forward with his sword, raised his eyes and scolded. What are you arguing about? Do you think fighting against the demons is child's play? If you really go to the front line, maybe you would have been scared to death. In the crowd, the centurion named Zhao Ritian saw Wei Chou coming over and took a few steps back. Wei Chou pointed his sword at him and said, Zhao Ritian, you better be careful and restrain your subordinates. If they continue to make noise here, don't blame me, Wei Chou, for being merciless. Zhao Ritian hurriedly cupped his fists respectfully and said, Sir, please calm down. I know I am wrong. He quickly turned around and shouted at his subordinates, all of you shut up. Don't say another word. Just treat it as giving me, Zhao Ritian, some face. Everyone kept quiet out of fear, and did not dare to say another word. Lin Muyu did not stop and continued to walk slowly with the army while carrying the pear blossom spear. At the same time, he sent a team of cavalry to take away all the supplies sent from Five Valleys City. These were all good things in war. After experiencing the nightmarish, cruel war in Winterfrost City, Lin Muyu had learned how important supplies were. The army is based on food. This sentence from Zhuge Liang's 24 chapters on the art of war was the truth for the army. At this moment, someone suddenly shouted from the crowd of Five Valleys City, Sir Linji. Sir Linji. Lin Muyu was stunned. This voice was very familiar, and there were not many people who knew his real name. Who was it? He hurriedly turned around and saw a man wearing the rank of a centurion squeezing through the crowd toward him. It was Qin Xiling, who he had not seen for a long time. The former Bronze Star sparring master of the Sanctum. Why was he here? Overjoyed, Lin Muyu hurriedly dismounted and walked forward. He suddenly hugged Qin Xiling and laughed loudly. Xiling, after you disappeared from the Sanctum, I thought you had died in battle. I didn't expect to see you here. Qin Xiling was also ecstatic. After the Battle of Lanyan City and the Sanctum was breached, I and a few other Sanctum sparring masters were chased by the Iha nation's army. We were stranded among the refugees and finally came to Five Valleys City. I felt that I was too ashamed to return to the Sanctum, so I joined the army here. Sir Linji, you are now an army commander? Lin Muyu smiled awkwardly. Yes. Are you going to the Daojiang branch? Qin Xiling asked. Yes. Qin Xiling's eyes flashed with a trace of longing. He said, You must be careful. I heard that the demons are all extremely cruel and powerful. Marquis Min Yulin's army of 100,000 died in Winterfrost City. To be honest, we are all very afraid that we can't hold the Daojiang River. If that happens, Five Valleys City will become a dead city again. Lin Muyu's eyes were shining. She smiled and said, Not just Five Valleys City. If the demons really win, the entire human race will be extinct. By the way, Xiling, don't you want to go with me? Of course I want to. But now I am a soldier of the Five Valleys City. It's okay. Who are you working for? Captain Si Zhang Bao. Oh, it's him. It's okay. I will write a letter to him. You can go directly with my 4th Legion. Okay. Qin Xiling was very excited. Lin Muyu immediately wrote a short letter and asked someone to send it to Zhang Bao. The general meaning was very clear. She wanted him by force. In fact, Qin Ziling's cultivation was very low. He was not much stronger than an ordinary soldier. Zhang Bao would definitely give him the letter. After entering the 4th Legion, Lin Muyu still let Qin Ziling be the centurion. After getting to know Qin Yan, Wei Chou, Feng Shi and the others, they got along very well. 5 days later, they arrived at the place of defense, Maple Ferry. Originally, it was just a simple ferry, but now it had been built into a camp. Before the 4th Legion arrived, they had already started to build the city. The city was less than 100 meters away from the Rice River. The height of the city wall was about 20 meters. Now it had been built about 10 meters, but it was still far from enough. At this time, the ferry had become the anchorage of the Imperial Navy. A total of 20 warships were neatly lined up on the shore. When Lin Muyu arrived at the ferry with Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the other captaincy, the navy on the warships also quickly disembarked. A bearded general wearing the rank of captaincy respectfully cupped his fists and said, "General Situ Lai has been waiting for Commander Lin here for a long time under the order of Commander Bailey Tsang." Lin Muyu smiled slightly and went forward to help Situ Lai up. She said, "General is too polite. Has there been any movement from the other side these days?" "Yes," Situ Lai said in a deep voice. "The demon race army has set up camp on the other side. According to my observation, they have at least 10,000 people on the other side. Most of them are the legendary cockroaches." "Armored demons?" "Yes." "Got it." Lin Muyu looked at Wei Chou at the side and said, "Send people to set up camp on the shore. 1 camp every 10 li. 5 camps on the north and south. Send out light cavalry to scout and observe the movements of the demon race at any time." "Yes, Commander." Chapter 359. The 4th Legion had been stationed at Maple Forest Ferry for close to half a month without any battle. Even though the camp of the fiend race could be faintly seen on the other side, those fiends kept lying in wait, making people very anxious. In the early morning, mist shrouded the entire city. This new city was already beginning to take shape. In order to build this new city, a mountain at the back was practically leveled. Close to 100,000 commoners toiled day and night to build this city. It was truly not easy. Feng Shi held his saber as he paced back and forth on the city walls, saying somewhat impatiently, "What the hell are these fiends doing? Are they still not attacking? Darren, in my opinion, we have warships and heavy cavalry. Why don't we directly charge over and kill to our heart's content with the fiends?" "No." Lin Muyu waved her hand and said with a smile, "Feng Shi, don't look down on the fiends. Their combat strength is far more terrifying than you imagine. If we underestimate the enemy, we will definitely suffer a crushing defeat. Do you know why Her Highness ordered the construction of this new city in a short time? It's because she also knows the power of the fiends, so she has already made plans to rely on the city to defend. The fiends are not good at fighting on the water and are not good at attacking cities. Always remember this." "Yes, this subordinate understands." At the side, Wei Chou narrowed his eyes and said, "We can receive feather letters from the other 6 great legions every day. It's quiet along the Rice River. The fiends have been lying in ambush for so long. Just what are they doing? Furthermore, the most hateful thing is that the scouts we sent out were practically all killed. We can be said to be completely ignorant of the situation on the other side." Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said, "How about this? I'll go to the eastern shore to investigate the situation tonight. You guys guard the city well." "No way," Qin Yan hurriedly said. "The eastern shore is too dangerous. Big brother, you absolutely can't go alone." "Don't worry." Lin Muyu raised her brows and said, "I'll sneak over and sneak back. I won't alarm the main force of the fiends. You guys be careful too, just in case the fiends attack at night." "Yes." That night, Lin Muyu changed into a set of black night clothes, carried the dragon spirit sword on his back, and then walked out of the city. Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and the others sent him to the riverside and watched him swim away. On a summer night, the river water was extremely cool. Lin Muyu swam slowly while releasing her spiritual pulse technique to observe her surroundings. There were only fish in the river water. There were no terrifying creatures like the frost-armored horned dragon. It must be because the river water here was not deep or wide enough to satisfy the frost-armored horned dragon's needs. When he swam to the east bank, a strong and violent breath had appeared in the spiritual pulse technique. Yes, it was the breath of the armored demons. The armored demons were the main fighting force of the demon clan, and could be seen everywhere. Additionally, she could sense the chi of an armored demon every 50 m in front of her. However, Lin Wuyu couldn't find any armored demon, even though she squinted her eyes. Therefore, there was only one possibility. These armored demons had disguised themselves. Splat, splat, splat. The river water slowly dripped from her clothes onto the ground. Lin Wuyu quietly entered the reeds by the riverside, and then stepped into the jungle. Not far ahead was the breath of an armored demon. Lin Wuyu hid in the grass and observed for a long time. Finally, he found that the grass on the opposite side suddenly shook. It was an armored demon scratching itself. Lin Wuyu immediately smiled. It turned out that the armored demons were really lying in ambush here, waiting for the scouts of the human army. No wonder none of the scouts sent by the Empire survived. Lin Wuyu slowly drew out her sword. When the dragon spirit sword left the sheath, it made a slight sound of friction. Lin Wuyu dashed over in a big stride. Before the armored demon hiding in the grass could react, she swung her sword down. The cold sword light flashed in the jungle, and the armored demon was split into two halves from head to shoulder. A stream of turbid red blood splashed out. Holding the bloody long sword, Lin Wuyu walked in the jungle like a phantom under the cover of the jungle. As the sword light flashed by, another armored demon was killed. Relying on the detection of the spiritual pulse method, the armored demons here had nowhere to hide, which made it more convenient for Lin Wuyu to move under the cover of the night. After touching the 3 consecutive defense lines of the demons, Zhang Tai saw the demons camp just hundreds of meters away. Inside the camp, there were piles of bonfires. Their way of living was very simple. They didn't even need barracks. Armored demons were very strong. They probably wouldn't get sick even if they slept in the open air. Moving forward, Zhang Tai could see the flickering bonfires. She could hear the sounds of axes cutting down trees and saws rubbing wood. Hiding in the bushes, Lin Wuyu saw a group of humans working under the bonfires. As they cut down trees, trees fell down rapidly one after another. On one side, pieces of sawn wood were being nailed together with horizontal boards. It looked like a huge wooden board. In the farther place, the same huge wooden boards had been piled up into a high pile. There were at least 100 of them. After being nailed together, each wooden board could carry about 10 armored demons, which meant that over 1,000 armored demons could be transported across the river. At the sight of this, Lin Wuyu couldn't help but draw in a cold breath. Demons' way of attack was so simple. They didn't need to build a battlefield at all. They just used such primitive wooden boards to cross the river. How terrifying. It was conceivable that there were many such wood construction sites here. More than half of the forest on the east bank of Daojiang River had been cut down. By then, tens of thousands of wooden boards would be thrown into the tributaries of Daojiang River. Who could stop 100,000 armored demons crossing the river? With her heart beating rapidly, Lin Wuyu narrowed her eyes. Behind each group of human craftsmen were some armored demons. These armored demons were supervising the work. In order to survive, these humans had to continue working. No wonder that senior demon said that as long as Yangwei Core was willing to be his slave, he would spare its life. Now that she thought about it, if Min Yulin surrendered at the same time, she might also become one of these craftsmen. Demons were enslaving humans and using human intelligence to deal with humans. After leaving quietly, Lin Wuyu didn't do anything anymore. It was useless to kill more armored demons. Additionally, he would be discovered easily. Additionally, for the sake of safety, he threw all the corpses of those armored demons into Daojiang River. After that, he crossed the river. The torches on the other bank were flickering. After 4 hours, Qin Yan and Wei Chou were still guarding the bank. Elder brother is over there. Qin Yan hurriedly urged his horse to rush over. Lin Wuyu slowly climbed onto the bank and suddenly exerted his strength. Do Qi whizzed past, shaking off most of the water on his clothes. He wiped the river water on his face and said, "They are building a boat." Building a boat? Impossible. Wei Chou was stunned. We didn't see any demon boat. Don't tell me they don't need to go into the water? Yes, their boats don't need to be tested. They are all nailed together with huge wooden planks. Moreover, there are a lot of them. The demons have enslaved the humans on the east bank of Daojiang River to cut down trees for them to make these planks. It won't be long before they launch a fierce attack. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "Immediately send a letter to the other 6 armies to explain the situation." Yes. Wei Chou's expression was cold as he said, "Darren, how should we prepare?" Lin Muyu said, "The demons are afraid of water. I don't know if they are afraid of fire. I think they should be afraid of it as well. The armored demons have transparent wings on their backs. Using fire to burn them should be effective." Darren wants to. What is the easiest thing to ignite? Black beach oil. This is the easiest thing to use to attack with fire. Then prepare more. That's right. Can the black beach oil float on the water and burn? Yes. That's good. Lin Muyu narrowed his eyes and said, "Prepare more black beach oil and move it all to our 20 boats. Also, cover the sides of our boats with metal sheets." Wei Chou smiled. Darren's brilliant plan. That night, Lin Muyu did not sleep at all. He was worried that the implementation of this plan would not go as smoothly as he imagined. He was even more worried that the demons would have other thoughts. Just at this time, Wei Chou's voice suddenly came from outside. "Commander, they came before dawn." "Who came?" "The winged ones." Wei Chou said indifferently. "As you expected, the demons used the same trick again. They wanted to use the winged ones' flying advantage to burn down our rations. Fortunately, our rations were all stored in the cellar and did not suffer any damage. However, several dozen soldiers were shot to death by the winged ones. These winged ones' archery is really not simple." Lin Muyu opened the curtain and walked out, asking, "Wei Chou, your archery is the best in the entire army. Can you kill these winged ones?" "I can't." Wei Chou shook his head and replied awkwardly, "With this subordinate's arm strength, I won't be able to shoot past 150 meters, and most of the winged ones can fly above 200 meters, so this subordinate can't do anything about it." "That's right, although I can't, there's someone who can." "Who?" "Qin Xiling." "Oh, Xiling. This subordinate will take Darren to have a look." "Mn." In the camp, Qin Xiling was fiddling with a bronze-colored machine. It was obvious at a glance that it was a crossbow, but it was the type that could shoot 10 bursts in a row. "Xiling." Lin Muyu greeted with a smile. Qin Xiling hurriedly turned around and smiled respectfully. His face was a bit awkward as he said, "I used to fiddle with some machines, but father always said I was useless. Now, I've modified a hunting carriage used by hunters to hunt giant eagles into a crossbow carriage. It's powerful, and if it's calibrated a bit better, it might be able to kill those winged ones." Lin Muyu nodded. "Then do your research well. If you need anything, tell Wei Chou directly. He will do his best to satisfy you." "Yes." Qin Xiling said happily, "Commander, when I fiddled with these things before, everyone looked down on me and thought I was not doing proper work. Only you encouraged me." Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "If the crossbow you invented could kill more demons, you would be the Empire's hero. Heroes don't necessarily have to charge into battle." Lin Muyu felt very ashamed. Although she came from another world and understood many methods of making weapons, she really didn't have much research on cold weapons. Otherwise, she would have been able to make some divine weapons like the Zhuge crossbow. If the demons really dared to come, she would kill them all. Thinking about it, she began to laugh. "Commander, what are you laughing at?" Wei Chou asked. "No, nothing." Lin Muyu wiped the saliva from the corner of her mouth. "What are we eating for lunch today? Is there meat?" "There is." Chapter 360. A small boat swayed from the river. A young and handsome man sat on the heavily decayed deck, and behind him was an old man paddling the boat. The small boat slowly moved, heading straight for the Empire's encampment on the west bank. This was the mountain forest town's ferry, the place with the most rapid flow of the Daojiang tributary in the entire Songnan province. and Feng Jixing's 50,000 elite soldiers of the First Legion were stationed on the opposite side. Who are you? Stop or else we'll shoot. A group of archers and shield soldiers rushed out from the forest. Each of them had the Empire's purple flower emblem on their shoulders. The old man immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. Don't shoot, I'm a human, don't shoot, I'm a citizen of the Empire. In the crowd, a centurion unsheathed his sword and stepped forward, saying, You've come from River East. Who are you? At this time, the handsome young man sitting at the bow slowly stood up and took off his bamboo hat, revealing a handsome face. The face was very perfect, as if it was created by the heaven and earth. However, under his thick eyebrows was a pair of light purple eyes that looked a bit flirtatious. He smiled and cupped his fist. First Legion's Marshal Qianfeng wants to see Her Highness Qin Yin. I wonder if I have the chance to meet Her Highness? The centurion was stunned. Divine Marshal? You are a demon? You can say that. In your human's mouth, I am indeed a demon. Qianfeng's purple eyes looked at the centurion and said, This time, I am under the order of His Highness the Third Prince of the Celestial Race. Please inform Her Highness. The centurion raised his eyebrows. Let's go ashore. Men, tie him up for me. Yes. A group of people rushed forward and quickly tied up Qianfeng. As for the old man who was paddling the boat, he was just an ordinary human, so they didn't make things difficult for him. After many days of construction, the First Legion's encampment had taken shape. The city walls were made of white rocks, and the sounds of training could be heard from within the city. Qianfeng was pushed into the city by the crowd, but there was no fear in his eyes. Instead, he smiled slightly, as if he was mocking the human army's combat power. In the central tent, Qin Yin sat on the commander's seat while Feng Jixing, Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, and the others stood on both sides, reporting the battle situation respectfully. Right at this moment, a messenger entered the tent, cupped his fists and said, Greetings, Your Highness General Feng. There is a person outside who claims to be the commander of the First Demon Army, called Qianfeng, asking for an audience. Qianfeng. Qin Yin frowned. Who is he? Feng Jixing said, Your Highness, the demon race is divided into two armies, the First Army and the Second Army. The Lei Chong that you mentioned before should be the commander of the Second Army. As for the person outside, I don't know if he is real or not. Should we summon him? Amen. Qin Yin nodded. Feng Jixing shot a glance at Zhang Wei, who immediately waved his hand, saying, Archers, axemen, prepare yourselves. Archers, switch to white diamond arrows and listen to my command. Yes, sir. At least 100 archers and axemen immediately hit on both sides of the tent. A few minutes later, a group of imperial soldiers pushed Qianfeng into the central tent. He was dressed in green, but there was an unconcealable arrogance between his brows. After entering the tent, he suddenly moved his hands behind his back like butterflies. Wisps of black energy enshrouded him, and the ropes came off in the blink of an eye. Protect His Highness. Feng Jixing immediately stood up, his wind cutter already halfway out of its sheath. Qianfeng smiled, saying, General Feng Jixing, there is no need to be nervous. Qianfeng will not harm His Highness. With that, he looked at Qin Yin, who was sitting on the marshal's seat, only to see this imperial princess dressed in a dark blue military uniform, elegant and dignified. Her carved face had a trace of anger as she looked at him. Her entire person seemed to be made of jade, graceful and graceful. In an instant, Qianfeng couldn't help but bow deeply, saying, God Race Marshal Qianfeng greets Your Highness Qin Yin. Qin Yin said indifferently, Qianfeng, what are you doing in the imperial camp? Seeking peace. Qianfeng smiled. Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh. Seeking peace? The demon race has trampled on my empire's territory, and you actually come here to ask for peace? Yes, it's seeking peace. Qianfeng's expression was calm as he looked respectfully at Qin Yin, saying, Your Highness, this time, the Third Prince personally led the God Race's army to recapture the Central Plains. Along the way, they have captured dozens of cities in Tongtian Province, Lingdong Province, and Songnan Province. They are unstoppable. However, His Highness said that as long as the Empire hands over one person, His Highness will use Rice River as the boundary and coexist peacefully with the Empire. Rice River as the boundary? Qin Yin frowned. She didn't show any anger. What do you demons think our empire is? Do you think we can stop fighting just because you say so? Feng Jixing sneered and said, Qianfeng, tell me first, who do you want from the empire? Lin Muyu. Qianfeng said word by word. Zhang Wei and Luo Yu were startled at the same time. Commander Yu? Qin Yin was also surprised. This had touched the deepest part of her heart. Her eyes flashed with killing intent as she asked, Qianfeng, what do you want Lin Muyu to do? Qianfeng bowed with a smile and said politely, Your Highness, Qianfeng has an older brother called Kai Yun. A few years ago, he was a pioneer who came to the human world in search of the 9 holy weapons. However, he was killed by the humans in the end. I investigated and finally found out that he died in the hands of a man called Lin Muyu. And this Lin Muyu is now a commander of the Empire's army. So, if you hand over Lin Muyu to ease the hatred in my heart, Qianfeng has already persuaded His Highness to delay the attack. Is that so? Qin Yin looked at him indifferently and said, It seems that Marshal Qianfeng has made a mistake. Feng Jixing laughed and pressed his hand on the hilt of the wind-cutter saber. He said, I'm guessing that the Marshal wants Commander Yu not only because he killed your brother, but also because Commander Yu's intelligence and strength make you tremble with fear, right? Qianfeng was surprised and smiled. General Feng is a straightforward man. Indeed, in the Battle of Winterfrost City, Lin Muyu was able to escape from Marshal Lei Chang's hammer, and even wounded him. This ability is enough to make us restless. As long as Lin Muyu is alive, the celestial race will never be at peace. I, Qianfeng, will not be at peace either. So Your Highness, please decide. It's up to you whether you want to hand over Commander Yu or not. Qin Yin said quietly, Marshal Qianfeng thinks too much. Commander Yu is Qin Yin's sworn brother, and is also Qin Yin's true love. I would rather risk the destruction of the world to fight against the demon race than betray the one I love. I see. Qianfeng looked up at Qin Yin with a hint of jealousy in his eyes. He cupped his fists and said, In that case, Qianfeng will have to trouble you. At the side, Zhang Wei had already drawn his sword, and he chuckled. Qianfeng, you brat, you're clearly courting death by coming to the First Legion's campsite alone. How can I, Zhang Wei, not fulfill your wish? Archers. Immediately, a group of archers rushed into the central tent amidst the rustling sounds. Their white diamond arrowheads were all aimed at Qianfeng. Feng Jixing also pulled out his wind cutter, the purple electric flame wolf martial soul circling around his body. What was even more frightening was that Feng Jixing's body was surrounded by a whirlwind of raging flames. It was the symbol of the first heaven of the Saint Realm. Raging whirlwind Do Qi. Feng Jixing had stepped into the Saint Realm. Facing such a strong enemy, Qianfeng still stood there calmly, with a trace of adoration in his eyes as he looked at Qin Yin, cupped his fists and said, Your Highness Qin Yin, Qianfeng admires Your Highness's peerless beauty. If we were not enemies, how good would it be? Qianfeng could let go of everything to pursue you. If Your Highness could accompany me, it would be a long-cherished wish of mine. Qin Yin's mouth curved into a smile. Marshal Qianfeng, you are thinking too much. What you should be thinking now is how to face the current situation. Since you dared to come here alone, you should have thought of this result, right? Qianfeng laughed and said, Your Highness, before I left, Qianfeng had ordered my subordinates, if I don't return within 2 hours, they will immediately cross the river and attack. I have 200,000 soldiers. Just the boulders alone is enough to fill up the river. At that time, with Your Highness's army, can you stop the divine race's army? Qin Yin was startled. Feng Jixing frowned at the side and said, Your Highness, when 2 armies cross swords, envoys are not to be killed. Moreover, Qianfeng is the demon race's marshal. Let's just let him go and have a fair battle. Feng Jixing also wants to meet this demon race marshal. Qianfeng laughed. As expected of the flaming wolf Feng Jixing, this kind of courage is not something an ordinary human can have. Admirable. Qin Yin nodded and said, Men, send Marshal Qianfeng back to River East. Yes. Zhang Wei stepped out of the ranks and personally led Qian Feng out of the central tent. As soon as Qian Feng left, Qin Yin frowned and said, "General Feng, you should be able to see that this Qian Feng is both brave and intelligent. The commander of the battle at Winterfrost City must be him. If we don't kill him today, it is the same as letting the tiger return to the mountain." Feng Jixing nodded his head and said, "I know, Your Highness." Although Qian Feng said that using stones to fill up Rice River was an alarmist, but our preparations are not sufficient. The black beach oil from Five Valley City and Divine Shadow City will only arrive in another 6 hours or so. We need this period of time, so, Your Highness, please be patient. I understand. When does General Feng think the demons will attack? Only today, it won't be long. They are also preparing for this war. Brother Yu then. Haha, don't worry. Feng Jixing grinned and said, "You is smarter than anyone. Moreover, the elite troops of Longdan Army Camp and Holy Temple Camp are all in his hands. If the demons cross the river and attack by force, his fourth corps is the most stable. Your Highness, you should worry more about your Aunt Lian, Tang Lu, and Tang Tian's positions." Oh, Qinin blushed and sat there in a daze. She didn't know what to do. If she could, she really wanted to fly to the Fourth Corps' position 100 miles away. Unfortunately, she was the Empress and had to stay in the First Corps to oversee the whole army. Moreover, Feng Jixing also needed her to intimidate the 30,000 troops of Muyu City. After all, they were not under Feng Jixing's direct command. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.